Start the recording.
We're live.
Okay. All right, so the time is now 9:33 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026. The first item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Jill Pizarnik. Cheryl Tarana is not present. We do have Cindy Sneezik, Ken Smaha, and Rich Goodman. On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. District Council Andy Cohen is present. We do have Field Manager Keith Livermore present. Spencer Gonzalez, on behalf of Landscape Inspection Services, is present. General Manager from Hampton Golf, Greg Barker, is present, and we do have audience members present, and we do have representatives from Juniper present as well as audience members present. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with leadership and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person. Our first speaker is Diana
Waters.
There you go.
Don't make it
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. I have a very small complaint, and I'm only issuing, you people do a wonderful job, and it's a huge job, and I understand that, and this is a very little picky thing. I'm just only hoping that it isn't part of a bigger picture. What I would like to address today are the flower pots out here. I'm from New England, and we only plant pansies in the spring because they like the cool weather. There are pansies in all of these pots. The biggest problem with them is they don't bloom unless they're deheaded. Nobody has deheaded them. I have been walking around trying to dehead them. It's a big project. But I've also discovered that half of them aren't even fully planted into the dirt. So not only are the pansies dying after 2 weeks or whatever it's been, but they're not reblooming, and they're also halfway out of the pots. So as far as I'm concerned, this was a poor project. And because of the complicity of this small little part, I'm wondering if maybe we should have pots outside the front door, 3 or 4 pots entering the pool, and get rid of all the other pots and make them a little more dramatic. Entering this building and seeing these half-dead plants does not give me a feeling that we're working on making this a better place or updating the look and the feel of it. I'm not an expert. There may be pansies that grow in Florida, but looking at them and walking in, especially after such a short time that they were put in, and the fact that they seem to me to be the wrong plants. And also, usually, and again, I'm not an expert, but usually with those big planters, you do a big arrangement. I passed a picture around to the members here today, and one of the things I thought about it, I'm not requesting that exact thing, but that only required 4 plants in that pot, and it gave you a dramatic, uplifting feeling that I think these little dead pansies are at a loss. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you. Our next speaker is Don Rhodes.
Okay, first off, thank you for being on the board. I know it's a lot of work. I second her on the plants. That's on my first thing here. The thing I also would add to that is we have lost a lot of palms in the entrance. I'd like to see those replaced from the hurricanes. Also, our Christmas decorations are just atrocious. Please, please give this place the class that it deserves, along with the planters. Thank you. My main concern, if you want to bring up the pictures, is my lawn. I am on Abilene Way. Our property butts up to about a 12-foot strip of CDD property. If you look at our lawn, it is just atrocious. I can't live with it anymore, and I can't, the Tri-County says they can't do anything for me until CDD does something. It's not growing in and it looks atrocious, and it's right at the entrance of my driveway. So I'm asking the CDD not now to make a decision, but please come to my house and let's get a solution so that I can have a decent looking lawn. None of this has ever been cared for except for mulching by CDD. They don't even cut it. Tri-County cuts it because they know they don't cut it. They don't weed and feed it. They don't do anything. And there's no way I can control it unless you guys control it. And then my ultimate is I'd like all that sod replaced. But thank you. I think that was enough. Did you see the pictures? Did you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay, and it's like that year round. Since I have a few more minutes, why can't we get more water to water our lawns?
We're in a drought.
But even when we're not in a drought, or is it just because I have a dead lawn all the time?
There are water restrictions about how much we can use and how many times a day, how many times a week we can use it, or.
But who puts the restriction on, I guess?
Southwest Florida Water Management District, it's a state water district.
Then why do other communities have beautiful green lawns?
Well, if you took,
Supervisor.
Yeah, we don't want to get into
Okay.
a dialogue, but,
Done.
yeah.
Okay, 12 seconds. Thank you. Thank you very much for looking at it. And please get back to me.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Barbara Silworth.
Thank you. I'm reporting from the POA this morning. Want you to know that the community-wide standards have been updated to prohibit recreational drones, commercial drones for real estate, anything in housing and roof inspections, etc. Those kinds of things are allowed. We would like a 48-hour notice when a drone is being deployed. Also want to share with you that the new color palettes have been introduced. There are probably 100 base palettes with over 300 combinations that people can choose from for door colors, trim colors, shutters, etc. So there should never be a question about having a problem to decide what color you want to paint your house. I also want to say that we had coming up at this POA meeting 76 violations throughout the community. At the moment, only 27 are going to a hearing, which means that 49 have been cured, which I think is a very good percentage, which shows that people in the community are caring about keeping their properties up to compliance. The water violations or power washing requirements that are coming up at this meeting will be delayed until phase 3 prohibitions or restrictions are lifted. People will still be cited for the violation, they will still be fined, but the minute any of these restrictions are lifted, then the violation, the dirty roofs, sidewalks, gutters, etc., will have to be done. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. And our final speaker is Darlene Schindler.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, Andy, thank you so much for doing the workshop this morning on the sunshine laws. I always learn something every year, so it's good to take it. Also, the CA, the Community Association, has rescheduled their Shark Fest for this week, Saturday. So if anybody from 9 to 2, so if anybody needs nice sharpening, that is the time to have it done. Ed Swing does a great job, and he will be here on Saturday. One of the things I want to talk about is our cul-de-sac. And yes, it has been planted, and I was less than impressed with the size of the plants that were put in compared to the size of the plants that were taken out. And I know the mulching isn't going to happen until the end of April, so that's not even a question at this time. But I have to agree with the.
Must be an Amber Alert.
We got a child alert, I think.
child abduction, yes.
One of the things that I will say, and Keith has addressed this already, but I want you all to know this, is that in doing the plantings, they barely put them in the ground. And I know that the deer came and, they uprooted some of the grasses and that, but actually I have to tell you, my husband went back over there and he replanted almost every single plant in that cul-de-sac because of the way it was planted, the roots showing, the lack of holes that were done. I mean, it really, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they were just in a hurry. I can't even address it, but that is a problem. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, bocce. I am all for amenities for this community, and I think that there are a lot of things that, I still hear noises, I still hear everything. I mean, that's just part of living where I live. However, I do feel that the timing of the bocce from 4 to 6 is directly affects the people who are trying to dine in the dining room. And I think it is really, really disrespectful for those people who are dining from 5 to 6 and to have people out there yelling and screaming at bocce. I'm sorry, but that just is not something I want to do. I think if you change the hours from 3 to 5, that's a lot more acceptable, but that's something that you have to determine. Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no further speakers signed in, we're gonna close out public comment and move forward with our agenda. Supervisors, before moving forward with committee reports, we do have Andres Jimenez and Christina Rudis from Aegis on with us.
Oh, perfect. Great.
Teams. So I was gonna ask the board if we could, before moving into committee reports, if we could skip to the agenda item that we do have for discussion so that you could ask them your questions, because they are gonna have to hop off here by 10:30, no later than 10:30, because I know they do have another commitment. Good morning, Christina. Good morning, Andy. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Belinda. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So just for the record and for the audience members following the agenda, we are going to move into item number 60 first, which is the discussion regarding district hurricane coverage. Supervisors, this is the time. Both Christina and Andy do represent Aegis, and they're present with us via Teams to answer or to take back with them any questions that you may have or need clarity on regarding coverage for the district.
Being that I kind of asked for them to be here, my biggest question, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my biggest question is, it's really not necessarily hurricane related, but just insurance coverage in general. Our roof right now is about 23 years old on our building, and it's been encountering some issues of deterioration and leaks over the past years. I'm just curious to know what our coverage is should there be future damage, and what our responsibilities are, and how our coverage is oversees what, I can't even think of the right word. And just if we're covered for damages to the roof from leaks and whatever, and how that's all resolved through the insurance process.
Okay, first, good morning. I apologize for not being able to be there in person. So I guess to make sure I understand the question is just an overall overview over the insurance coverage for roof-related damage, and as well as water damage. So the intent of the policy, of both property policies, is to provide coverage for direct physical damage. Right. So obviously we had a branch that falls on the roof. You have hurricane damage. You have hail damage. And so obviously the policy provide coverage to remove the tree, repair the direct physical damage, and any associated damage that's related to that. So for instance, if you have water loss inside the building, the water damage would be covered as well. When you have an older roof and you start having leaks, what the property policy, the way it excludes wear and tear. So if it's an issue, I don't know, what kind of roof do you guys have? Is it a tile roof?
Yeah, concrete barrel tile.
So concrete barrel tile, which is probably the best type of roofs out there in Florida, and they have a long lifespan on paper. But over time, what starts happening is that the tiles start shifting, some of them start cracking over time, and the underlayment beneath them, under them, don't necessarily have the same lifespan as the tile on top of them. So over time, you start seeing deterioration of the underlayment, which then starts, compromising the sheathing that's underneath. And then over time, you will start seeing some water damage inside. Something like that would not be typically covered under the property policy because it's a wear and tear issue. Now, if you have a storm that comes by, and you have damage to the tile, and you have resulting water damage inside the building, that would be covered under the policy, regardless of the age of the roof. So, and a lot of you, if you have a homeowner's policy, sometimes they'll depreciate the roof if it's of a certain age, or they will not renew you if your roof is past its useful life. Our policy doesn't work like that. You still have full replacement cost if God forbid this happens, but if there's a large hurricane that comes by over this year during the hurricane season and it damages the roof to the point that it needs to be replaced, regardless of the age of the roof, the policy is going to pay for the full replacement cost of the roof.
So in a nutshell, so if a hurricane comes through and rips the roof off, we're covered. But if we just have a subtropical storm with 50-mile-an-hour winds and horrendous rains and we get flooded out, we're not covered.
No, so that is covered, because that would be the result of the storm. Now, if you have some water damage, if you have rain and you have, let's say, a lot of times the water damage comes from the vents or the flashing, where the tile of the roof comes up against the chimney or another wall. Typically, those are the points that cause the leaks inside the building. Something like that wouldn't be covered. But if you have a large loss, my recommendation would be to submit the claim to us. Have us take a look at it and determine whether or not there'll be coverage for the loss. You have nothing to lose by doing that. But if you have a water loss related to a storm, whether it's a named storm or whether it's some wind gusts that come by, that could be covered. And I would encourage the district to report a claim if that's the case.
I'm gonna borrow this. Hi.
Green light. Good morning. I'm Jill Blizzard, one of the supervisors. Is there, I think I know the answer to this. Is there insurance over, loss of use? In other words, if it were the restaurant that were, because you've got it's part of the funds to run the district, is a restaurant. If we have loss of use of that, is there any coverage for that?
Yes, the district has what's called business income or business interruption. So is the restaurant an operation of the district, or is that outsourced to a third party?
District.
Okay. What role does Hampton Golf play in the operation of the restaurant, if any?
They're our manager. They manage it for us.
Okay.
But it's private use to residents of the district only, though. It's a private, members only. Thank you, Andy, members only. Yeah.
So if it's an operation of the district and there's a direct loss to the district due to the restaurant being down because of water damage, or let's use the example of a fire loss. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, great.
Okay. If you have a fire in the kitchen and that requires you to shut down the restaurant, the fire will be covered under the policy. There is coverage for what's called the period of restoration, which is while you repair the damages and you clean up all the smoke damage and you replace whatever was damaged and the restaurant's closed. The coverage works two ways. One is if you need to, let's say, rent a portable kitchen or outside in order to continue your operations, that would be a business interruption. So that additional expense to rent out the equipment, whether it be a generator, whether it be an outside kitchen, that would be covered under the policy. In addition to that, any loss of revenue that you have due to the fire would also be covered under the policy up to $1 million.
Okay. One other quick one, and then I'll hand this off to somebody, is does Aegis or some other related entity under FIA have access to consultants? Like, could you refer us to a roof consultant if we wanted an independent opinion on the status of our roof?
Yes, just for clarification, so the district is a member of the Florida Insurance Alliance, which is a governmental insurance trust. And I'm the program administrator for the Florida Insurance Alliance. Christina is here on behalf of Aegis, which is the retail agency that pays us coverage on behalf of the district. So if there is a claim that's reported under the FIA policy, we owe it to the district to give them a clear determination of whether or not that will be covered by the policy. And if not, the reason why. Right? So and that may require for us to engage an engineer to determine the root cause of what's causing the damage to the roof. So we can, if a claim is reported, engage both obviously an adjuster that would go out there to take a look at it. But from what you're describing, if you have a concrete tile roof that is older, you would most likely require an engineer to determine A, where the water is coming from, and B, what needs to be done in order to stop the leaks. What's the repair that needs to be done? Or if it's a case of whether, hey, the roof has passed its useful life. I know that the manufacturers may advertise that the roof is a 50-year-old roof or 25-year roof. And in Florida, that's just not the case. They just don't last as long as they're advertised for. But is there a particular area of the roof that's having the damage?
I'm gonna pass it to Rich.
Yeah, we've had problems with 4 valleys in the past year that have experienced leaks, and we're going to have a presentation here coming up shortly showing some damage of the plywood underlayment that started to rot out, and then when that funding gives out, we start getting leaks inside the building. And my other question is then, as we start getting potential leaks, what's our mold, fungus, and other coverage as well?
Okay. So yeah, the flashing, and the other thing is, I don't know when the roof was built, but and I'm not an engineer, but I started on my career in claims, so I've seen quite a few roof leaks. The code has changed for the better, and I know that the flashing requirements have changed because of what you just described. It's just a lot of the leaks originate on the valleys, where over time the flashing deteriorated, and that starts to leak. Now, on your second question regarding the mold coverage, there is mold cleanup coverage under the policy, which limits the coverage up to $50,000. However, that needs to be triggered by a covered event. So if you do have a covered claim, the amount of money available for the mold remediation would be $50,000.
Okay. Just one clarification question. If we wanted to obtain a third-party opinion before choosing proactively to replace the roof, do you have access to a list of recommendations of people we could seek for a third-party opinion before replacing our roof? Just proactively saying, no, you think it might be past its useful life.
Yeah, so we can provide you with the panel of engineers that we engage in these sort of questions. If you guys want to engage them directly, you're perfectly welcome to engage them directly to get a second opinion. And there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can ask them to give you a formal written report. or you can ask them to inspect and give you a verbal report to give you their opinion. And obviously, the benefit to the district would be you saving some money if you just get a verbal report or a short report instead of the full-blown written report.
And does that potentially trigger any, like a good lawyer will say, you don't ask a question unless you know the answer already. Are there downside risks to doing that?
I don't see any, because ultimately, if you have issues with the roof, you need to, I'm kind of merging out of my lane here, but if you have issues with the roof that's older, and you need to determine whether it's worth the repair. I'm sorry?
We're looking for an
Yeah.
objective inspection.
But
Yeah,
And they can provide us a list of other people
okay.
on
Alright.
what Byron had sent out from
Did I see
Custom
that?
Reserve.
If I saw that, I missed
I
it.
think so.
I must have
Yeah,
missed it.
Byron did send out the email. I just-
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
completely missed it.
Okay.
Sorry.
just have you guys received quotes to replace the roof?
Just one, but
Oh, hang on. There we go.
yeah, we've got one right now, but because it exceeds our limit, we're gonna have to send it out for RFPs, and that's basically been a discussion whether we feel that the need is immediate or it's something that can wait, and obviously, insurance was a big consideration to the issue, and of whether we need to do this immediately, or if we're covered by insurance, we could wait until next season when it'd probably be a little bit more timely in terms of finances and coordination.
Okay.
Did the roofer suggest, did he just say it was wear and tear that provided you the quote?
I'm sorry.
Was he able to confirm that, or?
Did the roofer confirm that the quote is being given to us because of normal wear and tear?
Well, yeah, the roofers, like I said, they've been on the roof for the past year. They've repaired 4 valleys. We have 11 more, and all 4 valleys experience the same thing: deterioration of the underlayment, and then of the water membrane, the waterproofing, and then the deterioration of the plywood underneath. So that's been their what they've encountered throughout so far.
Andy, what does it cost to get like a verbal? Do you happen to know, Andy?
It depends, but I would say less than $4,000 to get a verbal. But from what they're describing, if the common denominator is deterioration of the flashing, well, that's over time where the water goes, right? So eventually the flashing deteriorates and it gets under the underlayment and starts running out the sheeting underneath it. So again, without looking at it, it sounds like, well, one option would be is to fix the flashing. Now, how much is that? You have to remove the tiles that are around the area. You have to assume that some of the tiles are going to have to be replaced. You may not be able to find the exact tiles. And then whether it's worth it at that point just to fix that. And I'm not familiar with the size of the roof or what percentage of the roof would have to be repaired just to deal with the flashing issue. And the other thing is that, that's not the only area where you have flashing. So you may fix that issue with the valleys and then next year have an issue somewhere else, right?
We just need to get an independent
Agreed. Yes.
inspection.
Agreed, 100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think I'm done with my questions.
I'm good.
I just had one last question. I know that we had to have Hampton create a separate policy, and somebody who's involved in insurance wanted to make sure that the Hampton policy and our policies are all corresponding and making sure that they all work together and they're all one policy sees the other policy. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm asking because I'm not an insurance person, but if you can just look at both those policies and make sure they both work in unison with each other and which one becomes primary, did we do that?
We've done
Yeah,
that.
Did we do that?
Address
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Good morning, Andy. This is Andy Cohen.
Hi, Andy, how are you?
Good, how are you today? I think what
Doing
Rich
well.
is referencing is that you'll recall, when Hampton first came aboard, we had a number of conversations about, the policies and who was procuring what. And, eventually we settled on Hampton procuring the policies that they did. And then we looked at whether there was anything from the CDD side that we could cancel that we had with Aegis, because we felt that there might be some overlap or something. And I believe that we all are, and I know this may not have been what you're ready to discuss this morning, but I believe that we all arrived at the decision that there was nothing that we could let go.
No, what's an overlap is making sure that both policies recognize the others, because somebody was explaining to me, and I'm not quite sure. So I just want to make sure that the two policies reconcile together.
That I can't answer. I mean, I don't know if you're prepared to answer that this morning or not.
So, Andy, was the contract ever revised?
No,
I'm sorry?
no,
Okay. So and I'm going off memory, if I recall correctly, the contract required Hampton Golf to have their own policy and name the district as an additional insured.
correct,
Hampton went out and bought a policy on behalf of the district
correct,
and then named itself as additional insured.
correct.
Right. So there is some overlap because the district in a sense has two liability policies, one that was placed by Hampton and its own policy that's through FIA.
Yes.
There was nothing that we could remove on our end that wouldn't potentially create an exposure for the district. The district should have its own policy. I mean, the package policy includes up to the general liability as well as the public officials liability. And it was significantly less premium than what Hampton Golf policy. So the way the policies will coordinate would be is at the time of the claim, we will need to do an investigation on the, or part of the investigation would be the primacy of coverage as to which policy would kick in and provide coverage for the district, which one would come in first, second, or there'll be a sharing of coverage between both policies. And it all depends on the claim because the purpose of the Hampton Golf policy, if I remember correctly, was strictly for the operation of the golf, not the golf club, of the
Riverview.
Riverview, yes.
River Club,
So
yes.
you could have claims, let's say a trip and fall on the field or a sidewalk that are in no way related to the River Club. So that way, if that's the case, the district's policy, there's no question, would be not only the primary policy, but the only policy to respond to that claim.
It would depend on the claim.
Yeah,
It would be determined at that time.
okay. You good with me?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Christina. We really appreciate you being part of our
Yes,
meeting
thank you
today
very
and
much.
Thank you.
answering questions.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for everything.
All right, thanks everyone. So Belinda, just I owe you a list of engineering firms, right?
Correct. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Hi.
Have a good day.
I do remember getting it. I don't know.
Before we move into committee reports, supervisors, Rich did ask for the presentation to be added by the roofing contractor that did submit a proposal to be added to the agenda. We did not add it to the agenda. He did send it in advance, right after the tentative was sent. That's our mistake. So I would ask that the board add this to the agenda for today's discussion.
I would suggest we defer that until we get an independent
I've
inspection.
got them coming, so.
I'm not sure at what
We did invite them to
point.
the meeting. This isn't Rich's fault, this is our fault because we did, he did request it to be added to the agenda.
I think this is a little bit premature, especially since it's only one vendor, but also we don't want to disrespect their time. I mean,
I agree.
I mean, I guess we can list, I don't want to take up a lot of time. How long was the presentation supposed to be?
I just told him to come in and just explain to us what's going on up there.
Well, and he was
Not
gonna
on the
review,
agenda.
was he gonna
But we
review
need to add
pictures?
it.
Yeah, and
Should add
had
it.
some pictures, and
He did
show us
request
pictures,
it.
yeah.
What Belinda's saying is it was boo-boo.
Yeah, I understand.
And they were invited on
you know.
2 weeks ago, March 30th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it would be beneficial
Yeah.
for you to understand
That's
some of the things
Like
that they've noted.
yeah, sure, and there were a
As
lot
well.
of pictures.
So Rich, do you want to make a motion or whomever to add it to the agenda? We can take it whenever, but just call it business item 6G.
I make a motion to add them in, add in the roofing contract
Second,
when it comes in.
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna move into committee reports.
Okay. Let's see.
Facilities.
Yeah. I really like getting these reports
I do
on my
too.
site. It's
Yeah.
really super. So, here we go. Yay. Actually, it's really helpful to have these, especially because you can refer back to.
Yeah, and just for the record, District Engineer, Rick Schopper joined us at 9:59 a.m.
Okay.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. A question, Rich, and I'm, unless Tim is here,
No.
it might be playing tennis. On the geothermals, it's obvious it's a big number, but it's a big deal. So what do you, and it was helpful to get the information. I didn't take tons of time to digest it, but what do you think we do next on the geothermal thing?
Well, we're still investigating right now because the text, the representative said that the geothermal save a lot of money on gas. And I says, okay, so we need to verify because those pumps are on special meters, so let's find out exactly how much gas we're talking about, because obviously a lot of this could be, we obviously need to do something at some point, but the question is, I'm also trying to understand the ROI on these. So we try to find out what the gas costs are presently, and then I asked them, what is the amount of electricity that these units use? It goes 6.6 kilowatts per hour, and they run about 20 hours a day. I said, well, that sounds to me like it's going to be offset by your electrical costs.
Yeah.
The gas bill.
Yes,
Yeah,
he says,
absolutely.
so we're looking into both of those things right now to understand that. So we need to replace something at some point and to make, a stable system. The question is, what is how we approach it in terms of the ROI nature. And it's not something that needs to be done today or tomorrow. They're still working. It's a big
They were going
number.
in the summer.
It's a big number. They want to put in, right now we have 6 units and a gas heater. They want to replace it with 10 units, 10 geothermal units, which will then eliminate the gas heater altogether.
I think it was 7 and 11.
7 and 11, okay. Yeah, the 6 and 10 plus the gas.
And the gas heaters for
For
the,
the hot tub, but they're gonna replace that again also with,
So the idea would be is those additional geothermals, we would just cut the gas line off completely versus the investment in those additional
yes,
geothermal
because you
meters.
would not have a gas heater out there at all.
Correct. And yeah, I'm struggling with the ROI as well, I'll be honest with you,
Well,
because.
but even if you say, okay, I'm not gonna do all those geothermals, they're starting to fail and the gas pump too, so
Yes,
so even if we replace them with gas pumps, with gas heat pumps, they're expensive as well. And they don't have anywhere near the life expectancy, so although they might be cheaper, you're replacing them more often. So that's what we're trying to figure out, if there's any ROI savings on gas and using the geothermal against the electrical costs to see if we're.
so another question for you is, if we have those additional geothermals to eliminate gas altogether, do we have to drill a third well?
Yeah, they said to get to the water, they would need to drill, they want to have 2 wells coming in and 1 well going out. But that's included in the costs.
Understood, yeah.
I guess I'm a little gun shy because it's 8 years now I've been following the board, and the geothermals have been a constant state problem.
Yes.
It's a constant problem, and anyway, so, all right, you're continuing to look at it.
Well, they were also, we had geothermals that we found out a couple months ago, 3 of them were not connected. So somebody disconnected 3 of them last, a while back, and they determined that, and that was repaired and fixed.
Shouldn't that have been checked when we had to drill the new pump? Because didn't we drop the pump last year at some point?
We did. We
I
did,
would've
and
thought
we
they
replaced several heaters.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have checked all the heaters.
Well, no, they found out the pumps were not, before the geothermal guys, when the guys were drilling the wells, that's when they came in and found out, and we're making sure everything was working in well.
Okay, so it was at that point, okay.
The well drop was because the water level.
Right.
had gone
Right.
down. The
But-
aquifer was.
But when they came back and tried to adjust everything, that's when they found that some of the geothermals weren't connected.
Okay.
So they're making all that work together. So we're still trying to investigate to figure out what the best thing is. I mean, obviously geothermals have a longer life expectancy and generally work more efficiently than gas heaters. But if there's no ROI, we should know that. If there is an ROI, we should know that,
Yes.
in the decision-making process.
So just one more question, sorry. If we eliminated, just speculation, we eliminated the geothermal heaters, coolers, and we had gas for the heaters, what cooling system would be used for the summer? Would we not use one, or
We
what?
would not have one.
We would not have
The
one.
geothermals also do cooling.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a factor.
Ice.
Yeah.
Like, the cooler the better, right? No, I'm just kidding.
So I'll ask Rich, just for purposes of the reserve study, since we're getting to a conclusion there. Any advice as to what to put where?
It's hard to say. I mean, could we muddle through? I mean, obviously, it's not this year. Do we have to do it next year? Probably not.
Okay.
Should we? Could we? It's, nobody knows. I mean, it's old equipment and it's starting to go.
Yeah.
So the problem is if it fails, it's gonna take a long time, to then go through the process of bidding this out, because obviously it's over.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're talking about RFIs or whatever. So if we start to lose equipment, it's 4 to 6 months before we can replace anything.
But if it fails, we have the gas heaters as a backup.
The gas heater is nowhere near, the gas heater is.
It'll keep it might not keep it at where everybody wants it,
But then-
right,
but then-
86.
But then you're blowing through a lot of gas.
No, but I'm saying we have a backup
Yeah.
plan.
Again, the gas heater is not gonna keep, you need the geothermals and the gas heater to get to the tip. So if we lose a couple of geothermals, your gas
Okay.
heater is never gonna get you up to temperature.
Sure, I know that, we experienced that.
I think right now, we put it in 27.
Okay.
27. It sounds like maybe 28 is better.
I mean, if the budget works for 27, it's
I know.
always better to do something when you can negotiate the price as to be stuck with something that's broken and forced to rush in to do it. And whatever time of the year and situation and price you get is the price you get. You can't negotiate when things are broken as easily as you can when. No, so it's always better to plan these things, and then it's obviously better to plan things again with the club and the timing and everything else, because the geothermals are talking about putting all the units are not gonna fit where they are presently, where they have to put them out along the tenant, or out along the fence in the back by the tennis court area, which is another.
We're getting.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but that's another consideration of where that's gonna be placed.
We'll figure
And
it
what
out.
it looks like, but I'm saying, but you wanna do those things in a timely manner, not all of a sudden now we have to rush it and have no choice.
Okay, thanks for working on that.
Yeah, I didn't do very much, I just kind of shut up at the meeting. Juliet has been doing a lot, and Ray was doing a lot, in that respect, so thank them. And Juliet is now working on the gas, and with Greg, the gas and electrical bills to try to figure out what that might turn into.
Great.
Okay.
Did I get that right? Yeah.
Okay.
I did not sleep last night, so I'm a little out of it.
Anything else on facilities? Fitness and pool?
I gave you a written report,
Yeah.
so I'm pleased to answer any questions or, that you might have.
I guess I just have one question, Nance.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the schedule, and I understand, as we go into the summer, typically what we've done is, I think on May 1st, we've
I think
reduced
it's
the number
June,
of
it's
classes.
June 1st.
Oh, June 1st, okay.
Yeah, so we would reduce the number of classes to,
Right.
for the reduced
Do
number.
you think are we gonna be able to do that?
Meaning will
Well, I mean,
somebody.
is it planned to be done?
We mentioned it in the pool and fitness committee that we needed Hampton to make a suggestion as to the class reduction information, and we're glad to help with advising on that. I just think it's important that the instructors know about now, you know, what the reduction in their comp will be. We have a meeting this week, so we'll be talking about that.
The only other comment that I want to make is, you know, I walk around the pool occasionally, and the one thing that I have noticed is the deterioration on the maintenance of all the chairs, with all the suntan lotion and truly the tables too, with the you know, there just seems to be some built up grease that got caked in from the sun. And Greg, what are we doing to help move that stuff along, to clean that up?
Well, one thing about the chairs, I can tell you, we started doing some research with Ray, who I'll introduce Jim Lejean in a little bit, our new facilities guy that's on day 3 today. We found that Tropic Tone does supply the slings. They're $99 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 6 or 7 chairs that need to be replaced. So that's on the radar with replacing the sling. As far as the surface of the tables, it has been bad since I've seen it. It's stained. I don't know, I didn't ever hear the lotion, but that's probably.
Oh, yeah, the shade lounges are covered with it, around the lap lane and then along between the pool and the boardwalk. Yeah.
Before Hampton was here, so you wouldn't know this, Greg, the maintenance people did a very thorough cleaning at least once a month on all of the chairs and tables. They had found a solution that when scrubbing the chairs, you know, brought them back to good condition. And I think with the changes in personnel, changes in management, whatever, this regular, ongoing, thorough cleaning hasn't been done.
I'll follow up with Jim about that. Do you know what the chemical was by chance for the cleaner?
Nope.
Dawn.
Yeah. So the only other thing that I want to comment on is that, and it's going to come up in this week's meeting, is that Greg had gathered a bunch of information on lease terms for the cardio equipment. So several years ago, there were multiple conversations of, is it better to lease or to own? So we'll be bringing that conversation up. Like, we've got 3 new bicycles, I think it's 3 new bicycles.
3 new bicycles and a rowing machine that's on order.
And we own those, okay?
We own most everything.
Yeah, and I think
We own
the
everything.
ellipticals, so we do need to do an analysis as to whether it makes sense, because then that would also impact the reserves and then operating on an annual basis, depending on what the outcome of that conversation would be. So we'll be taking a look at that on Wednesday. We're gonna keep. Mhm.
Interesting.
And then one last thing on fitness, the lights in the yoga studio were all replaced with LED lights. And today they're replacing the lights in the fitness gym with LEDs.
Cool. Awesome.
And Greg, I'll give you a copy of what I've given them. I don't know if I copied you on it, but I'll give you a copy.
Thank
you. Social and dining?
So Darlene is here. Maybe I'm just gonna throw out, thank you, by the way, Darlene, for this. One of the discussions we've had at Social and Dining is regarding, and I've talked to Greg kind of ad nauseum about this, about you know, lunch in the main dining room, et cetera. So this is gonna be something I think we're gonna wanna take a look at when we talk about expectations for the River Club and staffing and everything else. The cost to run lunch in the dining room, obviously the tiki's another story, but especially given that we have many uses for the inside of the club, the question becomes whether lunch makes sense or not. So that certainly has come up at Social and Dining. So that was one thing I wanted to throw out there. So anything else you would add?
No, I think that basically is is what we discussed, is the fact that we have to do what's most cost effective for the club. And it seems like, I think we asked for some history of how many people actually attend the luncheons during the week or inside, and not just the big groups that are once a month or once a quarter or whatever, but, and I believe Greg or Kat are going to provide us with those figures at the next meeting. Just so we can, again, it's a board in Hampton decision. It's really not our decision. It's just an observation that we had.
No, this was very well done. Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Jill, we did add in the La Sala work
Yes.
group update.
Question, there's people in the audience sitting here, do we want to do some of the other things? This is going to take a while.
Yeah, we could. Do we want to do?
Do we want to get
Should we
like
let
the
them just-
landscape and
People sitting here.
engineering and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not working.
You guys okay if we give it another 15 or?
certainly.
Okay,
Okay, cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so did we want to move into something in particular or continue?
Well,
should we just go in order landscape or unless, well,
I don't know. I don't know why they're here. But I hate for them to sit here. I hate for them to be
well,
sitting
let's,
here for an
then
hour.
let's just go in order, under staff
Maybe-
reports.
Maybe landscape.
Right,
inspection.
6A, yeah.
6A,
All right,
5A.
so we're gonna move into staff
Okay.
reports. We're gonna move into landscaping inspection services. Spencer, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Joe, I know you said you had a question. I don't know if you want to wait till after I talk about the report or before.
Well, let me just throw it out there quickly. I think a few meetings ago, you'd said that we could remove the supports from the Medjool palms, but they're all still there. And actually some Sables also had them. So maybe if you can just address that whenever.
Yeah, so you should leave in your supports for one growing season, kind of a year max, and then it's time to get rid of them. There was some discussion about straightening them, which I kind of advised against.
Right. Yep.
So it's important that Juniper makes the call, or whoever installed the modules actually, whoever wants to take accountability for that work makes that decision.
Yeah.
I can go out there and give a soft opinion, but at the end of the day, I don't have skin in the game the same way the person that installed it did.
It was LMP that installed it.
So, which is Juniper. They are one and the same as far as our conversations go, I would say. So, if they're ready to go, a proposal and, take it out, but it would be a proposal. I'm certain of that, yeah. Removing stakes, removing bracing is almost always a proposal, unless in the initial install, it's spelled out. So that's standard, that's not a Juniper LMP thing, that's gonna be everywhere.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, last time, right before we had the previous board meeting, I met with Sergio. I talked a little bit about how that meeting went. I'm gonna go over it again, just because Juniper's here and, for full transparency about stuff that happened, I want them to know kind of what we talked about. We had a great meeting about some of the conditions, what to improve. I asked them questions about margin and the health of the contract from their perspective. I got a positive answer from Sergio that he felt he had everything he needed to accomplish the job, and he spoke with great confidence. And I also advised him that I had advised this board that Juniper is LMP, so they should not get a restart per se from, okay, it's like a new contract, you have this time to get it back up. They are expected just to get it back up, and that to anticipate at the end of April, whatever this community looks like, it'd be much more difficult to improve before the end of summer. So whatever condition we're looking at the end of April, beginning of May, is probably what it's going to look like at the end of August. Without any kind, unless there's an increased effort, which is difficult to do when it's growing season, because They have crews that go elsewhere. They have problems that where irrigation's breaking all the time. You know, most of the damage happens in the summertime. So I just want to say that since you guys are here and let you know the kind of conversations we've been having. You know, the last inspection, a couple of notable things is there is a couple palms that need addressing at the entrance on, I believe, so the left side of the entrance coming in, you have a medjool that has some crown dieback. I don't know if that's been diagnosed yet, but it is in the best interest of the community to decide what to do there. The month before that, you had asked me to go look at some palms. That was the only medjool that I found that had any real issues at the time. However, I do have an inspection today for the May meeting, and I'm going to take a closer look at that again. There's another palm in the roundabout right here, right outside the entrance that has Ganoderma. So that's going to need to be remediated and replaced with the hardwood in order. Sorry? Or not replace it with anything? Wait, whatever you want to do, just don't put another palm back in there. That would be the advice there. I also had a comment about the roundabouts getting planted. I know there's a mulch schedule and there's a planting schedule for the remainder of the projects, you know, so there's going to be more plantings and stuff after this mulch is put down. I would strongly encourage that we approve mulch for these projects as well, again, because they're going to displace it and then it's going to fill it with weeds after they plant it. And all those plantings are not going to look very good. And there's going to be a lot more erosion and washout afterwards, kind of not destroying, but devaluing the work that has been installed. So those precautions should be taking place. We had, other than that, you know, most of it was reoccurring things that we've been trying to get under control. The turf, you know, just driving in is in improved condition. I attribute that more to the rain probably than anything else. So unfortunately, we're probably not going to have as clear of an image of the extent of irrigation issues as we did in the wintertime. You know, that's why I try to push getting those repairs in the wintertime because they're going to be masked again until it gets dry. So Juniper, you'll want to stay on top of that.
I got a question about that, sorry.
Yeah.
So some of the sod, last year we had LNP that put down improper chemicals on the sod and they replaced a lot of it. The areas that we're seeing, and Keith, maybe you remember this, I don't know, are the areas that are still dying back from that poison that was put down? No? Okay, thank you. Sorry, Spencer.
Yeah, I believe most things are water, drought damage.
Drought related.
Yeah,
okay,
drought
thank
related,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
A chemical burn is instantaneous, almost, you know, it's a much more aggressive yellow and things like that. And yeah, those are the main points I had. You know, there's also been a question about, and I believe another resident brought it up, which is the buffer area between the conservation area and their lot lines. We did take a look at the GIS. There is a significant strip in certain areas between the lot line and where the conservation area starts. That would be CDD responsibility. The lot lines do not extend all the way into the conservation area. There are places where the conservation area has extended closer to the lot lines, but there is a buffer there that is CDD responsibility. And those are all the highlights that I have.
I think at the last meeting, Cheryl had mentioned that some of the cul-de-sacs that Blue Sky had planted had died because of lack of irrigation, when the irrigation was broken.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Yeah, so there's a proposal. Well, I know, but we have a proposal on to fix irrigation, but their contract has them looking at the irrigation on a monthly basis. Why are we paying to have irrigation fixed, which obviously I know that's our responsibility, but why was it not noticed months and months and months sooner that we're not going to pay to have plants replaced once the irrigation is done, when it's Juniper's responsibility to make sure that I have irrigation, and if I had irrigation, my plants wouldn't have died. So what I'm saying is I think that's, you know, what's your feeling about that? I mean, we have, I know if stuff breaks, they've got to propose it and fix it, but we went for months and months and months with, obviously, almost everything's broken, almost everything's getting replaced. So why was that not done a year ago when we replaced everything and now our stuff is dead?
So the quality of the wet checks a year ago, unfortunately, I don't have an opinion on. However, I will say that you're gonna be hard pressed to get one vendor in to install a product, and whatever the existing or post conditions are, unless it was a direct, they took their lawnmower and ran it over kind of deal, Blue Sky should be, ensuring these plants are checking on that, you would need to have Juniper to install the plants in order to warranty them for something like drought dieback and things of that nature.
But the drawback is because the irrigation's broken, not because of drought dieback.
Just dryness, not water-related issues. Sorry, Pete?
The cul-de-sacs themselves, if there was a problem within the cul-de-sac, it was repaired when we found that there was a problem in it. Now that we've tore all this out, right, tearing out that stuff destroys anything that's in there, basically. All right, when you tear all those plants and everything that we've done. That's what most of this is for, is to replace all that was tore out during the new installation of the cul-de-sacs.
No, I get that, but why did nobody notice that last month, the month before, the month before, the month before?
How do we know that it wasn't working? It was working, right? If there was a problem and something was really dead, okay, we looked at the irrigation and got it fixed, right? But now we ripped everything out. It brought all that irrigation and all those drip lines and all that out of the cul-de-sacs that has to be replaced now.
No, I'm talking about the Blue Sky stuff. That was done a year ago.
Oh, that was one cul-de-sac.
Okay.
That was one cul-de-sac that they did. All right, and that was Darlene's over
Yeah,
here.
we did like 4 or 5 cul-de-sacs in Blue Sky.
Okay. Yeah, was it 4 that
Yes.
we put in? Okay.
4 or 5.
But there was only one, I think, that everything died in it. And that was Darlene's over here. And that in front of her house. That's all been replaced by what Juniper just put in over there. And replacing of the irrigation for it.
I think you're expressing your frustration that the things being broken.
Yes. Well, I mean,
resulted in
if it was,
at least one cul-de-sac.
I mean, if it just got broken as we did something, I understand that, but if something was done a year ago and has been broken that caused it to die over time, it was never treated, it was never maintained properly or checked. That's my frustration. Is we're paying a lot of money to a lot of people, and we never seem to be able to get anything done to completion long-term. And I know the community is getting older and the pipes are getting older and things happen, but it just seems to me that we're missing something here in terms of the overall process of responsibilities sometimes.
So a question I would raise to that is, when the Blue Sky proposal came in, was it accompanied, with an irrigation proposal with it, and what was the warranty?
I think the warranty was a year, and there was no irrigation proposal.
Yeah, so if they warranted a year, then they should replace.
Assuming that the
Blue Sky.
But assuming that the irrigation is working. I mean,
Did the contract have exclusions like that?
I don't know. I would have to go back. I didn't do the contract. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's where I would start to recoup any kind of investment if that's what you're looking for. But like I said, my feelings on it are that if the wet checks aren't being done and not being reported on monthly, that is an issue. But it is separate from another vendor's installation. You could mark that against Juniper and hold them accountable for not doing their work, but they do not hold responsibility for the failed installation of work that was warranted by a different company.
When they do wet checks, do they check drip lines?
Yes, sir, we do.
Just to sprinkle?
Yes.
You do.
This is the irrigation specialist for Juniper.
Hello, my name is Brian Gway. I'm the
Hi,
irrigation
Brian.
manager for Juniper.
I just want to comment on something, because when the, and I'm pretty sure Brian was going to touch on this if he if he does speak on the proposal with the controllers, because I think the proposal in itself was a little misleading because it kind of gives you a view as if though nothing was working and that's why everything has to be replaced. And that really isn't the case. So when I first saw the proposal, my first reaction was, wow, all of this wasn't working. What happened to all your wet checks and what happened to reporting this as per your contract, which is what you're supposed to do, and then send us a proposal for replacement. The issue with the battery controllers is not new. This is something that we've been dealing with for quite some time. And I think, Jill, since you've been on the board and you also have been someone who has most of the knowledge as it perceives to these controllers, you know that we've talked about this for quite some time. And at one point we were considering going away from the battery operated controllers. But cost-wise, it was quite an undertaking at one point. So I did question Scott Carlson on this, and I did remind him that this is something that should have been reported, and it should have been something that the district should have been receiving proposals on if the controllers were not working. So Brian did clarify that's not the case. What's happening is that with time, these controllers have been, experiencing issues because they're fairly old. These systems are not new, they're fairly old. So as you're upgrading these cul-de-sacs and as you're going into new plantings, it is recommended that you upgrade these systems so that you have better systems in place so that you're not having to put in plantings, they break down, then you're gonna enter into another area where everything ends up dying because these controllers end up failing. So he did clarify this, and I did provide the information to Cheryl, and I let her know so that she could share that with the committee so that they were aware of it as well. I can share that information with the board if you'd like, and the email correspondence as well, if you want me to send that over. And Brian did clarify that information as well, so that everybody's on the same page, because I do understand that the way that the proposal reads, it's a little misleading.
Yeah,
You read it as if though everything is broken down, you have to replace all of this, it's not working. That's not what was really happening.
That's how I read it.
So that's how I interpreted it when I read it. And I did go back to Scott originally and said, well, if that's the case and nothing was working, then we need to go back and talk about how much you would owe the district back, because if you were not reporting this, then we would need for you to credit the district for this equipment because you were supposed to be doing web checks, you didn't report it. So of course, I did say that, and you will see it in our correspondence back and forth, but that's not really what was happening. What they are proposing is to upgrade these controllers because originally they were working, but you are having issues with them. It doesn't make sense to continue to repair something that eventually you do know has probably exceeded its life expectancy and you are gonna have to replace.
So then wouldn't we, maybe it's a question for Brian then, wouldn't we replace them as we go in the cul-de-sacs and not a wholesale, if you're gonna do something.
But we're redoing all the cul-de-sacs.
You're redoing all of the details, so
But
it
is it
makes
literally
sense.
go?
It
They're gonna
makes
rip everything out.
sense because at this point, are you gonna continue to part replace, or are you going to start fresh with all of these cul-de-sacs and track all of these, controllers so that you have a set life expectancy for all of them and you can future plan correctly for their replacements? Technology is a great thing now because one of the things that they were proposing was the Wi-Fi aspect of it, because this wasn't something that Cheryl recommended, but the Wi-Fi aspect is great because you can control them via Wi-Fi. A lot of communities, a lot of districts are moving towards controlling your systems, your pump systems, remotely because you can monitor them. This helps because if something goes down, you can automatically know what's happening versus having to go and check it once a month.
Do we have Wi-Fi access in the whole community?
I'm not
think
sure
so. I don't
how
think so.
this system works, but I have a system, for example, in Fort Myers, where Annie and I share this district. It's a pump system where we control everything through our cell phones. It's amazing. So there's so much technology out there now that, different systems, great systems where you avoid a lot of stuff.
We only have Wi-Fi at the guardhouse and here, and even to get to the tennis courts, we had to put a repeater out there.
I don't
So I
know.
don't think, we're not Wi-Fi.
I think they were proposing
What are we
for these
asking?
controllers.
It's-
One of the controllers they were proposing is Wi-Fi. I don't know, Brian, if you have details on it, but I thought it was great, but it was an upgrade to what they were proposing in their original proposal. I'm just bringing it up because it's an option to what you currently have right now versus a 1 month, check, which is different. But I don't want the board to have this perception that all of your equipment was entirely broken down. None of these cul-de-sacs had water. Everything was just not working. That wasn't the case, but that's what I perceived when I first saw that estimate. And that's why I challenged Juniper on it when I first saw it. But I will share that information with everybody so that you can see it, because that was the first thing that I noted when I saw it. And then I sent the information over to Cheryl as soon as Juniper responded, because I wanted her to share that with the community as well. Brian, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Just so you know, it's not Wi-Fi, it's actually Bluetooth.
Okay.
So you don't have to have a repeater or anything like that. It will actually, you can get your phone, Bluetooth, like if you got a, wireless speaker, basically same thing. You can give that to anybody. You can put the app on your phone. You just have to have the serial number of each one of those battery timers, and it will allow you to access it. So you guys could say, all right, I want to give one of the board members access to it, to where you could go and run those zones if you want, or check them, or whatever you need to do. To go back in perspective on the wet checks, we have been since we took over in November, again, LMP and Juniper R1, since we took over, we have been inspecting the islands, but you got to remember those islands in the beginning when we came in, there was talk always about redoing all the islands. I know we had a couple that were done. So in that perspective, when we're doing these wet checks, you have 2 valves per island, okay? You have one that runs the center drip, and then you have another one that runs around the outside sprays. What we were doing, since you're inside, old plants were all basically existing, they didn't really need that water. So we took and we were making the sprays from the outside spray in. That was keeping them going at that point. So the reason for the whole proposal was to get you guys up to not 2 battery timers per cul-de-sac. Now it's going down to 1, because you have 2 single battery timers in there. So I'm proposing to do the 1 Bluetooth, but a 2-station time, or a 2-station timer. So basically now we've cut all your battery timers in half, and you just have that 1 2-station Bluetooth, which the Bluetooth is only, I think, a $5 difference from regular to that. So it really wasn't that big of a cost going that way. So that's kind of where we were. So once we did, when everything started getting planted, we had several of our old 1-station battery timers that we did have on the areas on islands that needed the drip in the middle. We put those on for the time being, just so to see what was going to go on with the proposal. And once we get that, it's just a matter of going in, take that old timer out, put the other one in, and put it in. We also have in this proposal putting new drip over there, because in drip line, it grows in the roots of any of the bushes and trees. So the minute that was all pulled out, it yanked everything out. So a lot, and even in this proposal, there was no repairs of any of that being done. This is all just to get everything back up if it was in existing condition, which was a good running condition. So just a little perspective for that, that don't even have any repairs in it. That's mostly just to get everything up to date. And like Belinda said, gets you on a little bit more of a, technology base, to where even for our techs, it's even better for us, because you don't have to go try to find the valve box all the time. You can actually just go to the Bluetooth, put it in, and get it to run.
I asked Brian the other day to take this proposal and put a sharper pen to it, because I knew Rich was probably going to ask that question. And so he did. He put a sharper pen to it and dropped this about $4,000 to it for us too. So
I just have a question. I was just curious why some cul-de-sacs take 10 man-hours, some take 5 hours, and some take 2 hours, and all the cul-de-sacs basically have the same amount of equipment in it, but
some don't need drip, some did. Some needed timers. I think you have five islands that the timers were still in decent shape. We didn't even put those in there. I think we did 25 total.
Well, I'm looking at the cul-de-sac 28 and 29, both in Savona Court. One is for 1,060, one is for 1,410. The only difference is 5 hours more labor between the two, but everything else is the same. So I'm just trying to figure out if all the other components are the same, why does one have twice as many hours as the other?
This is Mark. He is my tech that's running the whole project over here. I'm gonna let him answer that because he's been on each island. Some of these islands, the drip was so embedded into the old plants, we added extra time to redo all the drip in them. And it takes time to tie it all in and relay it all back out. Because some of the islands are bigger around than the other ones.
So, okay, but I'm looking at these two islands, both get 100 foot of drip line. But one is
exactly the same.
The other, yeah. So one is, it's.
Just compare 28 to 29.
Yeah, so same components, same footage of drip line, same fitting, same everything, except one's 5 hours, one's 10 hours, so it's $350 more for one versus the other. So I'm just trying to.
I'm gonna guess that that's mostly probably more, the drip line was still existing, was still in somewhat good shape. And the other one got a little bit more torn up, so we had to use a little bit more pipe on that.
But it's both 100, it's both 100 feet, so I don't, unless you're just throwing in generic numbers, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense.
They're the same size.
Yeah. So, and I got another one here, on Bellini Court, it's 100 feet, it's 2 hours for $850. So I'm just trying to understand how all these components are the same, the only differential is tech hours for everything the same. So I'm not understanding, I don't know. Like I said, I did not sleep last night, so maybe I'm thick-headed, more than usual today.
Again, each island was assessed at that point when it was being done, after everything's been planted, so that's pretty much where that was put in.
Is it possible that there's simply a labor difference depending on a design or how deep something may be versus one island to the next?
Yeah, absolutely, and also like the valves, to put the solenoids on, the DC latching solenoids and the timers, the valves actually have to have a little repair because they got torn up. Actually, a couple of them got ran over by the tractor when they were doing it, so again, could be a number of things.
So we're jumping here.
Yes.
Do we have anything else on Spencer's report, just to conclude Spencer's report? And do we want to just go ahead and jump into the irrigation proposals? Because we do have, the roof consultant from Westfall Roofing outside waiting as well.
Yes, we can move on.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Spencer, did you have anything else on your report?
Nope.
Do you want to stay for the conversation on the irrigation just in case?
Thank
All
you,
right,
Spencer.
so we're gonna move, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move into item number 6B, which is the consideration of the irrigation proposals from Juniper. This is behind tab number 3 for your review. Cheryl did send the board some correspondence on this issue. Keith, I know that you did meet with Cheryl on this. Is there anything that you wanted to cover on this?
Oh, she spelled it out pretty good in her explanation to you, and the savings and that's going forward on this. So really not anything more than what Cheryl had already written to you about.
Like you said, you got it down. So
Mhm.
what we're seeing, is this the number?
No, I've got a different number here. It's 17.
I'd say.
$17,667.82.
Say that again, Keith, sorry?
17,000.
I believe Mark did walk with Cheryl too. You guys visited almost every island, correct? At one time, yeah.
$17,667.82.
So despite the questions, Rich, you had on the hours.
Well, it still may be there. I mean, I don't know. They took an overall number. I still don't know if the hours make sense, but
But they took it down
They
to
took it down.
4,000.
So we're looking for is a motion.
If that someone wants to.
I'll make that motion.
Take these separately, or is this is another proposal under the same tab?
Yeah, there are two, but the numbers are the same.
No, I'm just asking, are we gonna vote on one at a time or on both of them? Or does it matter?
Or we're just voting on one number, is that right?
The
There were two
17,000.
There's-
items in the package.
I haven't seen this proposal, but I was just asking, Andy, I think we should have some sort of a work authorization that incorporates, warranty for parts on this one.
Right, because we don't typically, when we're using our vendor like Juniper or whatever, we don't typically do a separate contract, but I certainly can.
So
Oh,
can
no,
we,
no, that's
should
not
we
the
do a
question.
not to exceed?
Why?
But-
We have a number. We have a firm.
We have a firm number of 17,667.82.
I'm only asking the question, are we gonna vote on these two proposals separately or collectively?
What's the second proposal?
Please,
On
John.
the berms,
Well, hold on, these proposals have.
under the
numbers.
same tab, there's another proposal.
Oh, okay, I haven't gotten down that far.
It's all
Thank
the
you, Ken.
same proposal. The first one you had was a 21. It's the same number and everything. Basically, I just revised the numbers.
Yeah, no, but in our packet, in the same tab, there's a proposal for the irrigation
Gotcha.
installation on the two buffer on Valenza Loop. The
Well, that's
Medici
the
berm, I
5,000.
assume that
There's
is.
a double proposal.
There's two proposals in this section.
Yes.
But then there's.
I would follow Cheryl's recommendation.
I got a question on the Valenza loops. We're spending a lot of money to put pipes in. Is there any way that, I mean, I don't know if the.
Wait a
CDD
minend, are we on Valenza Loop now?
Well, because it's part of the things.
Well, that was for putting in new irrigation into Valenza Loop. At the end there's that, between the two homes.
Yeah.
The irrigation, that's completely different than the 17,000.
Yeah.
They're in the
So-
same tab.
Okay,
I just asked,
okay.
Are we gonna approve
Cheryl-
both of them?
Cheryl's only asking us to approve the 17,667.
That's right.
Correct. And then
She
the
didn't
other
opine on the
proposal
other one.
is from Juniper as well, to put in that completely new irrigation
Right.
in those, between the two homes there.
Yes, Yes.
At that, if you go over there now, you're like, well, why would you put
Yeah.
irrigation
Oh, yeah.
in here? Because it looks great, but
When it doesn't rain, it was horrible. But I got.
Can we not get sidetracked?
Okay.
Yeah, I know, we
Do-
got-
do-
yeah.
It's 11 o'clock.
and then we still have
I mean,
last call.
I have no problem with, I think the irrigation timer thing, especially because Brian sharpened his pencil.
Mhm.
I would like to see us vote separately on the irrigation timer fix versus a Valenza.
Oh,
Loop.
100%. So I will make a motion.
Let me just interrupt for a second, I'm sorry. These proposals have numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe we can refer to those.
Okay.
Even though
Yeah, so
I know that the amount has changed.
The amount on the Cheryl list here was 21,372.77, so that's been reduced to 17,667.82.
Is the
Right.
proposal number still 391,693? Is that what we're dealing with?
Top of the first page, Keith, the proposal number. 391,693.
The second one.
That's correct.
Okay. So it's the same proposal number.
Same
It's the same proposal. What I did is I just basically went in that proposal and adjusted the
Now,
numbers down.
17,667.
Right.
So I will make the motion to approve proposal number 391,693 for $17,667.82.
I second.
Subject to preparation of something by council,
Okay, subject to
Do we
preparation.
need to?
well, parts and
Parts and labor?
whatnot.
I
Warranty.
Unless,
Doesn't it
unless
come
they
under
just,
our Jennifer?
unless we can just get them to include just update the proposal, subject to them updating the proposal with the parts, with the warranty information.
I don't know.
However you want to handle it.
And what's the warranty on this stuff?
Standard warranty, Jennifer warrants.
The Bluetooth timers, I believe, is 2-year. I'll have to
Okay.
make sure on that, but I believe it's 2-year. Everything else is basically just spray heads and drip line.
I don't see where it says that on here.
Standard warranty, it says Juniper agrees to warranty irrigation, drainage, and lighting for a year, trees, palms, and 6 months shrubs, and ground cover for 3 months, and sod for 30 days.
No mention of it.
No mention about parts.
So if we could just get parts added to that proposal, so it's official in there, so approve it subject to.
Well, does the parts thing come with the equipment itself, so
Supposed to be referenced.
should be in there, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Doesn't mean we can't, but we can vote on it still.
Sure, yeah, okay, good.
So change the motion to subject to, right?
Warranty on the.
Warranty on the, but.
I have
warranty on the
here, I have
parts.
subject to Juniper
And I
updating parts and
I second
labor.
this subject to.
Okay.
Good catch.
So Brian, you can just make that change.
So what are we talking about, just putting the warranty wording in there?
Yeah.
On the
On the
parts.
equipment.
It's
On
not,
the
it's not in
parts.
here.
Okay. Well, Keith just read up, that was off of the contract, right?
I'll copy you on the follow-up, Brian, so you have it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Then as Ken said, we've got another proposal.
388,069.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to know why we spent $5,500 for one spot.
Well, it's 2 spots, but I got a different question, Keith. Is it possible, I mean, both homes catch up to that swath that the CDU. Is there a way that we could just hook in some sprayers to the existing homeowners? Sprays to cover that up for a lot less money than generating, a couple spray heads and run off their water, they're not paying for the water anyway. Is that legal
Yeah,
with
like
the CDD?
Add like 2 zones to their sprinkling schedule.
Or just a couple of heads, when the area's doing the back, you just add 2, pipe out.
It's a pretty big area to,
Also gonna be a pressure issue too on
Yeah.
the lines, trying to add a bigger nozzle, they could already have their zone already pretty much maxed out. So if you try to put bigger nozzles on there to spray farther, you're gonna
Okay.
cut pressure back on that.
Okay.
All right.
Can
That
I
answers that
just
question.
ask what are the addresses that we're talking about here where this space is at?
it's not on the, as you're going up Portofino.
Uh-huh.
It's not the first turn onto Valenza Loop. You
Okay,
go to
it's
the second one,
Okay,
and as you turn in, it's
It's
right there on
Okay.
the left and right.
great, thank you.
Yeah, it's right.
It's an easement that we
right
have.
in front of my house.
Gotcha.
It's an easement that we have right there.
Gotcha.
And you'll go look at it.
No,
I had nothing to do with it. I don't see it. My house, but that happens to be where it is, because I see it, and I never mentioned it.
If you go there now, it looks great. If
Yeah.
you, during the winter, it's,
It's rough,
Okay.
it's rough.
yeah, it's fixed.
It looks like Passaro underneath the power lines.
We all look at that.
Okay,
Okay.
It's
That was my question.
not right at the back.
You want us to put this all right, board, so right, we've got one more proposal under this agenda tab for your consideration. Do you want to table it?
I don't know, I'm just gonna say, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm, without further information, I'm a hard no.
we can table this and add it
Thank
to the
you.
agenda if you'd like for the landscaping committee to look at it, or have Cheryl comment on it at the next meeting.
Okay,
I just need to
Thank
go
you.
drive by and see.
that's what I need to do too.
There's nothing to see now, it looks fine now, I'm telling you, it looks
I'd
like.
like to see how big it is, I think, $5,500 for 2 spots.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a decent size, it's probably about 100 feet wide by 300 feet long.
Okay.
So that proposal is adding 2 zones to those lots, so you're gonna have 2 stretches of road that's going down. That's why the cost is where it is.
That area?
Looks like it's green now.
All right,
All right,
okay, so we'll
let's table
table.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
we do have a long agenda.
Yes, yep.
Do you guys want to take a 10-minute break now so that we can catch up? this
Well,
agenda after?
can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I know, Ken, you thought that LaSalle would be long, but I think, because Cheryl's not here, I'd like to do something, fairly concise, with LaSalle, so that we don't make these folks wait another
This one?
however long, if that's okay.
I'm good.
We have the roofer out there.
What's that?
We have the roofer representative.
We got the roofer, is it?
That's.
Well, I mean, I think this is probably gonna be 15 minutes or less, is my guess. So
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'd like to just go ahead and get it done.
Okay, so we're gonna move back to the La Sala work group update and discussion. Thank you, Jennifer, for being
Thank you,
here.
Jennifer.
Spencer, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll get that in for you.
Appreciate it.
So you're dancing in the body, is what I hear you saying.
Well,
Nancy's going on the clock.
Yeah, so, yes, absolutely. And maybe I'll just, if you don't, as long as you get a green light, maybe I'll just preface it by saying, two quick things, that it's, it's, for the record, it's been 2 years worth of very detailed groundwork that I think has, really, I think, created a standard for this community when we're looking at doing large projects. So just for the record, this is the project, La Sala work group. The group was tasked with gathering information to, it's really hard. Yeah, I can't, or we can close the doors. Yeah, I can't think while that's going on. Anyway, I just wanted to, just for the record, say, it's 2 years worth of work that's been gone into trying to gather information on the question of what we should be doing, what the community wants in terms of expanding La Sala, and really bringing the community up to date to where we are, so that the board can take the information that's been gathered so far and continue on. So, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought, so I'm going to turn it over to Nancy.
Okay, so
I think we brought the community up,
No, I think we need to bring the
Okay.
community up to date. So
Yes.
what I wanted to do was get us to the point where, this work has been done, and I think people have not been focusing on where we are, but I think we're at a point where we need to engage the community more robustly, because we've got a sufficient amount of information to decide how and whether to move forward with the project. I'm going to turn it over to Nancy.
Okay, so if we're gonna have a 15 minutes, we just took 5, so we got 10 left, I guess.
Oh, well.
So,
Sorry, keep on brain.
in quick review, so it's been 2 years of time that La Sala work group has been established and working on this project since January of 2024. Our original assignment was to do research on what the community wanted for La Sala before spending any minor amounts of money on different pieces of these areas that needed to have replacements of bar equipment, things like that, not spending money without knowing what the long-term plan was, and that money wouldn't be, ended up not being useful in the long-term plan. So we spent approximately a year doing focus groups, speaking with realtors, speaking with people that own restaurants, going to look at every new community in the area, every rehab unit community in the area, to get an idea of what people here that were residents wanted and what was being done outside. We produced a 63-page report last summer on all of our work, concluding as to what direction you may want to go in. And at that point in time, you authorized us to hire an architect to come up with physical plans that would address what the results of the research indicated. That was accomplished. There were several different options that were presented to you as to where a larger bar could be located to accomplish the goals. After that, you all decided that the central bar concept was the best approach to achieve the goals. And the next step, after coming up with the central bar concept, of which you have a drawing in the materials that we previously presented to you, was to say, well, what would this cost? And we wanted to come up first with a rough guesstimate of the cost before a lot of additional expensive work was done on fine tuning the drawing. And so the architect was able to work with a contractor that he's worked with before under an agreement that they would not get the assignment if in fact it went through, but just to come up with costing out the project. And we now have that. We presented it to each of you individually so that we could get your thoughts. And we have summarized each of your individual thoughts on the package that we provided you for this meeting. So the costs that the architect has come up with for the hard costs before the cost of furniture, bar equipment, fees, application of reserves, etc., adds up to approximately $1 million. And on top of that, it was recommended by Hampton that we include a 30% contingency. That's really because this is a very guesstimated analysis with a lot of details behind it. So that's another $300,000 for the 30% contingency. Then the bar equipment has been estimated by Hampton at $120,000. We now have some more details. Hampton has brought in a vendor that supplies bar equipment, and they've done a little bit more work on the specifics of what will be needed in the bar. And that number right now is $133,000 versus the $120,000 that we have in these numbers. Furniture and equipment, furniture and fixtures has been estimated at $300,000. That's based on the conceptual drawings, the number of tables and chairs and bar seats, etc., that are in the drawing that you have, and Hampton's estimate of what we should use on a per unit basis. So in other words, all chairs are at the same cost in that number, not you might have this kind of a chair or that kind of a chair in different areas. And that totals up to $300,000. The architect and engineering fees were a 6% of cost calculation are $80,000. Interior designer fees are $25,000, bringing the total project cost with all of those add-ons, including the $300,000 contingency, to $1.8 million. And then there are reserves that are in hand right now for things like flooring, furniture, etc. And that will be something that the Reserve and Finance Committee will weigh in on, and how much of that should be used or can be used against this project. But we've estimated $230,000 to bring the project cost down to $1.6 million. Yes.
The project cost is $1.8 million. The 229 is just part of the way to fund it.
Yes, exactly.
It's $1.8 million.
Yes, exactly, that's correct. And so just to go further, before I take any questions on that you may have, is there's two elements that we met with Hampton also to go through the current drawing and these numbers, and with Greg and Jamie last week. And so as a result of meeting with each of you individual supervisors, we have a list of follow-up questions that LWG needs to address to the architect. Different things you said, could we do this? Could we do this? How much would this cost? How much would that cost? So we have a list, and we've given it to you, of about 15 follow-up items that we are working on. And we also gave Hampton our list of what we perceived from what you all had communicated to us on things that we believe that you will want them to produce for you, such as projected operating costs after operating and revenue numbers after such a renovation was completed, and also a plan for the operations during a renovation. Those kinds of analyses, that we have a list of about 10 or 15 items that we thought you would want them to work on. We've given it to them, and we've prioritized what needs to be done now versus what needs to be done long term. And you might want to review that list and determine if it's needs to have more on it, or if any of those items you want them not to do, or you want someone else to do, or whatever. And that is in the package of information. So there's a Hampton to-do list, there's an LWG to-do list in the package that we've provided you. And there's also a summary of all of the comments that you all gave us from the meetings that we gave to you, so that you know what your brethren said to us about the different things.
What package?
Right here. She sent it on the
She
8th.
sent it.
Was it the 8th?
I did not see it, that's why I'm confused.
Yep, I don't know what day it was. It was probably
There you go, I got it.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Thank you.
So there's little text like the dividers that say things discussed with Hampton, things discussed with, you got it?
Sorry.
I know you get a lot of stuff.
Too many.
Anything that comes from me, you might just like put
No,
in the
actually,
junk drawer.
I actually look for your stuff. The other things I can look for.
The interesting things. So we have Linda Wine and Bob Raffato, who are on the committee, are here, and we can answer any specific questions you might have from the materials that we provided to you, if you'd like.
Nance, did you mention, I apologize if you did, that, you know, you and Bob met with Greg and Jamie Selby last week, and there's gonna be another rough estimate?
I mentioned it, oh, I didn't mention that piece of it. Yes, we met with Jamie and Greg last week, and in connection with that meeting, there's two parties that they brought into that meeting. One was the bar equipment vendor who we sat down with, and that had given us the $133,000 estimate, preliminary estimate for the bar equipment costs. He informed us, because of his relationship with Hampton, he will agree to do a more fine-tuned, specific cost estimate of all of the bar equipment needs with, bid package information and whatnot in it for no additional cost due to the Hampton deal of free services. And then the other thing, they brought in an additional contractor who is here, two gentlemen. They're located in Venice. They've done a lot of large projects, such as a portion of Venice Golf and Country Club. After their original contractor went belly up, they came in and finished that project. They worked on a lot of other local projects, and they are located here in Venice. And they are working on an additional construction estimate so that we get another viewpoint. That will take them about 4 weeks, so it should be about 3 weeks from now that we'll have another number to compare with this number.
So.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, that's good, because I think for this board, especially because, we're missing one of our members, I felt that there were a couple things here. First of all, as a couple people pointed out, and Bob and I have talked about, we're going to need to do a bit more proactive and robust communication with the community now that we're kind of at this point in time with the amount of information that's been put together. So what I propose to do is, and I'm interested in your view, is to take this package that the team put together and post this on the CDD pages, the CDD page where we currently have the output package that the team put together a year ago. And what I think we could do is put a link in the summary, the meeting summary that goes for today. There'd be a link to that package so that people get the next iteration. Okay, now here we are with this information. And then maybe I can work with you, Keith. We can just say, this will be discussed, at many future board meetings. So I think that's part one, and part two. And I don't think this can wait. We probably should talk about how we engage the finance committee in terms of what the options.
We are engaged.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that as well. We talked to Ken, and then I went to the last Reserve Finance Committee meeting. They're focused right now on getting the reserve
Yeah, sure,
study
understood. Understood.
ready.
Great.
But they have been asked to look at funding mechanisms and alternatives with regards to this. So that's process has been started, and they have this information from us as well.
Yeah, because I think the tricky piece for us will be that there are still a number of unanswered questions, and I think that's going to be a top question is the funding piece. I was talking to my husband about it. It was the first thing he asked me, so.
And I think the other important thing just that I didn't cover is the next steps in addition to the funding and the follow-up things that I already mentioned to you, to get to the next level of a much more finite cost estimate where we're actually drilling down into design of the bar, design of various elements, would be a $30,000 cost to the architect. That would take about 4 months time period, lots of meetings, renderings. Do you want it to look like this? Do you want this material, etc.? And so that would be something that you would consider putting in the budget for next year. And then if and when you decided to go further from that viewpoint, it would be another $45,000 for bid packages, renderings, dealing with bidders and negotiating contracts with them, etc. So the two additional costs that would come up before any construction or any approval of construction would be $30,000 and $45,000 for a total of $75,000, which would be something that you would want to consider putting in the budget so that could be done in the ensuing year.
Yes.
And the one consideration I had mentioned to Bob and Nancy was tying everything all together because like the hallway right now.
I told them the same thing.
Yeah, is scheduled to be done this year, next year, painted flooring. So, and then the locker rooms.
There's the broader concept. Yeah, there's broader,
So
which is one of the reasons why I wanted, I feel
exactly.
Cheryl needs to be here.
Absolutely. So we need to start looking at this as.
Yeah.
We need a whole.
And maybe really meet with the architect to see if it can be done in 2 phases and how that would look, or 1 phase and how long that would take. I mean, because I think those are important decisions that we have to make.
I think you're absolutely right, because there's a question of lost revenue.
Yes.
Right,
Lost revenue and also
labor and staff
how
and
much
all
more
that.
would it cost to do it 2 phases versus 1
Sure,
phase and
because there is a cost.
Yeah.
Or you could do it
Or
more quickly,
potentially.
but it'll be more expensive,
But,
so.
yeah, so
but
those
I-
things we need to,
So because I wanted this to be sort of the, okay, let's, put it up on the marquee, make everybody aware, transparency thing, we've got the basic stuff on the table now. Thank you, Nancy. By the way, thank you to the
Thank you,
team. It's
guys.
just been
Thank you, Linda and Bob.
mind-numbingly amazing job of gathering all this information. So I'll work with Keith and I will put this on the agenda for April 27th. So we're all here and it's a workshop so we can spend more time discussing. We can chat offline about having somebody, I think you're going to be back in Illinois. I know you're here.
I'll decide after.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to be on vacation.
Oh, good for you. And then I think obviously any questions in the interim, please, go to the team, please.
But we do have that list that we are going back to the architect with on questions, and if there's anything else that you all thought should have been on that list, please just communicate directly with us so that we can give that to the architect, as well as the Hampton list, which I mentioned.
Great, thank you. And for the audience, there are a few copies of this up here, so if anybody, I think I've got 4 extras, so if somebody wants something.
Can I just ask a
Let me
very
know.
quick question?
Oh, not really, but can I catch you after?
I just want to know, when you post this to
Oh,
the
yeah.
community, will there be a preliminary artist rendering in that posting?
No, there's a
I don't know
2-dimensional.
what you're even
It's too
looking
soon
at
for
for
that.
money.
Too
No,
soon.
no, it's not a rendering, it's
a floor
drawing
plan.
of the floor plan, like where the bar will be, where the rooms.
Right, yeah.
Not a look and feel.
Rendering would be in the more developed
And we-
package, but it's a great
but we
question.
also have to let them know that this is for.
They won't know what they're getting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right now, it's 1.8 million, what am I getting for 1.8?
Well, this is,
there's a drawing, of
Yeah.
what the floor
But
plan
we're,
looks like.
but we're far from that point.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is the tricky bit.
All
Okay,
right,
I think we're good.
It is 11:23, does anybody need a break?
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break at 11:23 a.m.
Thank you.
Return the packet. Return the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be. We're back on the record at 11:36 a.m. and we do have Eric Sands from Woodhall Roofing with us. Rich, did you want to just give an overview?
I just wanted Eric to come in and show us what we've been experiencing on the roof in the 4 areas that we've replaced so far. I know we still got to, I know we still got to look at the consultant and have somebody else come look, but I just want you to see what I've been seeing in all these repairs that we've been approving or have been approved and we've been working on. So.
Yeah, so this is actually the first repair we did. This is right to the left of the entranceway when you walk in. Actually, right above Greg's office, actually. This was probably the worst of the actual 5 that we did. It initially starts in this valley that you can see right up in that area in the top right. And then it just worked its way down. That's due to failed underlayment. So anywhere where the underlayment on this roof fails, I mean, it finds its way in, and then obviously ruins that wood decking that you see in that picture right there. But yeah, this was a major leak that was leaking pretty bad, and it probably started a year ago. I mean, these take a while to actually start to generate into the actual ceiling that you see.
Eric, may I ask, why does underlayment fail? Is it because it's an edge and stuff wicks?
Nope. So the Florida weather that we get, the heat, humidity over time after 22 years now, it starts to break down and it starts to crack, and then water finds its way inside like you see right there. Yeah, I can show you a couple pictures here before they actually tore it off, and you'll see like in this picture right here, that green stuff is actually your underlayment right there. And then obviously that's wood, just rotten wood that you see right there. So we found multiple other leaks when doing this repair. And same with the last repair that we just did last month. Actually, the leak above the fitness center, there ended up being an even worse leak at the bottom of the valley. So
can you give me a dimension on that picture so I can kind of
gauge how it is here,
what
actually.
are the dimensions on that?
Next, I'll get you some more pictures here that'll zoom out. So this is actually at the bottom, and then that's that picture, the first picture that I showed you, right up there at the top. And that's a massive hole.
Yeah, okay, 5 feet, 6 feet?
So from the top of the valley down to the corner, it's about 7 to 8 feet.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
I just needed to get an image.
Yep, and the water actually started at the top of the valley, and then obviously once it's under that underlayment, it just ruined all the wood south of it. So.
4 foot line right there.
Oh, I see it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they're 4x8 plywood sheets up there. So.
Yeah, so what happens with the underlayment? It's a petrochemical material and it just dries out and starts it starts cracking. It gets brittle and.
Okay.
And that's the Florida heat. I mean, if this roof was up north, it would last 30, 40 years. But because of the Florida weather that we get, especially summertime, it destroys it over
Can you tell us
time.
ballpark rough estimates on these 4 repairs? I mean, how much we spent?
20,540.
All 4 combined?
Actually 5. So when we did this repair, we also did above the kitchen, the flat roof. We ended up actually replacing half of that flat roof because they had a leak on there too in the kitchen. So there's actually total 5 leaks that we did, separate repairs, I should say. 4 of those were for the valleys though, on the tile roof, and then just the one for the flat roof.
And that total is 20,000?
540, yes. I mean, that was a dry season last year too, all these that we did. So as far as what to expect this year, no idea. That's dependent on how much rain that we get too. So there is 11 other valleys up there. And I say that because that's usually your normal spot for these things to start to leak. Majority of water goes to all the valleys. So
Is there any leak test you could run?
For roof this size, not really, no. I mean, I could go to each valley and run a hose over it for a period of time. That would be pretty much all I could do.
Yeah. You couldn't pull tiles and visually examine?
So on these valleys, I'm going to show you here too. You got 2 layers of underlayment, and you also have valley metal that goes down the center. I'm going to switch over to another repair and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to go over the one that we just did last month. A little better. answer your question for you. So you have your underlayment that crosses over, and then you have valley metal that goes down there. In order to do that, all the tiles for that valley have to be removed, and then that valley metal, and then that underlayment. I mean, it's something that's not quick and easy to do. Yeah, our best shot would be to start with running water down each valley, and then going from there. But the underlayment is the same age on the entire roof. So, I mean, even the valleys are just showing that there's leaks now because the majority of water goes there, but the rest of the roof's going to have the same issue eventually too as well. Once we start to get more rain, harder rain. Last year, like I said, was pretty dry. So.
And that's the difference between a host test and the heavy rain is obviously you have the amount of water just falling in, overflowing it, and then pushing it further out.
Sure.
Yeah, so this was at the bottom of the last repair that we did. Obviously, you can see in that picture, it's cracked, broken, and then that's what we found underneath. So that's the wood, and that's right at the edge. So it's not, obviously it wasn't leaking inside the building, so it's something you guys never would have even known about, until we tore it up. So, and that's probably something that started, who knows, a year ago, 2 years ago, no idea.
Is there a way to look at some of these valleys from up in the attic to see if we see deterioration into the?
So the one thing with this roof, it's a lot easier if I just show you a picture, so I'm going to show you here real quick.
Like the repair above Greg's office, or actually it's Becky's office, we couldn't go, you couldn't, there was no access underneath, to view that, so we couldn't do that.
So this picture right here, what I'm pointing at right here, you have blown in foam insulation. So it makes it a nightmare to look for any kind of leak. You can't find it. I mean, you got 6-inch thick, it looks like, right there. So, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I remember trying to look in the kitchen up there, and I couldn't tell. I couldn't see anything because of that. So, but yeah, and you have that strictly because there is no ventilation for this roof. So that's why they did that. That's usually your second go-to if you don't have any. There's no vents for the attic access at all for this roof. So that's why they did the spray and foam.
And part of the quote that we had, our suggestion was they make these new.
Yeah, O'Hagan vents. We would be adding ventilation to it. But right now you don't. So, I mean, that allows that heat just to sit in the attic, and it bakes that underlayment, from the inside out too as well. So, the newer system will have ventilation. Also, the underlayment too is going to be a lot better than. Obviously, we came a long ways in 22 years, technology-wise on that stuff too as well.
So
I was going to ask, given that we're 23 years later, today's technology, if you replace the roof, would you expect to get more than 23 years out of the next cycle?
Yeah, specific underlayment that we will be putting on there will come with a 30-year warranty. And that's based off, installing correctly to current Florida code. I mean, there's a lot of things that will change on this roof that are to today's current code than, obviously wasn't back in 2004 when that roof was done. So, yes, you can expect to get longer.
And
So right now you've isolated the water damage into the valleys. Are there any cracked tiles on the flat part of the roof that were possibly done to storm damage that are potential leaks in a heavy rainy season?
Possibly.
That we didn't see. Have you gone up there to see what kind of cracked tiles that we have up there?
Yeah, and we repaired a lot of them. There's still a lot up there. The only thing with that is the underlayment is your main water barrier. So the water goes underneath those tiles regardless, whether they're cracked or not. I mean, there was probably, I think we did 40 when I first initially came out here, fixed cracked ones. Yes, I mean, at this point, trying to repair anything cracked tiles is not going to do anything for us. That water's still going to get underneath there.
Sure.
But yeah, as far as relating it back to the storm, my first inspection was May of last year. So I don't know. I mean, there's a good chance that it could have been storm related. As since the hurricane was 8 months prior to that.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, unless I inspected it shortly after, it's the only way to know. So.
Sure.
Since you've done a couple of repairs since the first time we met a few months ago, I remember your assessment was you thought that the HVAC system could stay there because the condition of the wood seemed like it was sufficient. Are you still in that line of thinking? Because I know the price difference between taking down and re-putting that stuff up and the timing changed dramatically. How do you feel about the roof where the HVAC system is now?
So real quick. Yeah, so with this, I'm trying to remember. Let me see, just one second, guys. Let's see if I got that picture right. Because yeah, from our last conversation, we should be able to work around the feet of those AC systems, and just obviously reseal it instead of doing a complete tear off.
Since the whole board wasn't at that meeting, can you kind of summarize to them the price difference and the timing difference between doing that and not doing that?
Excessive. I mean, if we had to remove that AC system, obviously we're going to be without AC for up to a week. And those also have to be craned off the whole AC system. So I mean, you're looking at 2 weeks difference between having to remove them or just leaving them there. And yeah, cost, obviously there's going to be a tremendous cost difference between being able to keep them there or having to remove them. Off the top of my head,
ballpark plus or minus 10.
Probably close to 20 or 30. Cost wise, if we did have to remove them, and obviously being without AC for a week too as well.
But you feel like now it shouldn't have to be done, or you don't think so?
No. Yeah, from the 6 other people that I had look at this, we should not have to remove them. No. So.
You weren't here, but we're talking about doing an addition to the back area over here, and I found out at the meeting that the potential of the flat roof back here will be extended. So if we were to do this portion of the flat roof existing and then did an addition to it, would we just be able to tie into the work you did today, or would we have to redo the whole thing and start all over?
So you're saying if we did replace the roof and you did the addition later after,
correct,
we'd be able to tie into the existing flat roof. Yeah, okay. That wouldn't be a problem at all. Since we're doing a full tear off too for that one, since that one's easy, there's nothing on top of that one. Yeah, that would not be a problem just tying into the existing one. No.
Okay, so that was an important question that I did not realize we were going to be doing that. But okay, it's good to know.
And the quote you gave us assumes which on the air conditioning roof?
That quote reflects us not having to remove the AC systems, yes.
Okay. The other thing is that your quote does not include the cost of replacing all the underlayment. So the more underlayment panels that have to be replaced is obviously that's material addition, correct?
The plywood?
The plywood, yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, the plywood would be something that would place as needed. I mean, I did include some wood in that quote as far as, what I think we're probably definitely going to need. But yeah, anything additionally, I mean, obviously redecking the whole roof would be tremendous. Probably no.
So the longer we wait, the more damage that occurs, the more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, like you saw in that picture, I mean, there's leaks places that we don't know about right now, where yeah, obviously you're going to need wood. On the eaves, like you saw in that picture, is pretty popular, and then like on the valleys too, as well. That's going to be popular as far as needing wood. So.
And you had also mentioned when we all met with Greg and whatever about the how pricing now is today without the hurricanes versus, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, since we didn't get storms last year, supply and demand for pricing has gone down a lot. Where, this time last year, it was still pretty expensive. Now, if we do get a storm this year, I mean, it could be a lot more next year if we are going to be waiting, a year or two. It all varies off our Florida weather that we get, as far as what pricing will be for supply and demand on that stuff.
So is your urgency more of cost? Or is the, what's your perspective of the urgency of getting this roof replaced? If throw out cost is the factor.
Yep, and that's really going to be answered on how much rain we get this year. because, I mean, there's gonna be other repairs that we're gonna have to do the longer we wait, depending on how much, more rain that we get this year. I'll be honest with you, I mean, most of the tile roofs that I do, age-wise, between 20 and 25, you guys are right there. And any of them that start to have leaks in the valleys like you guys are, I'm like, yeah, you need to do it, sooner than later. So, yeah, I mean, cost-wise too is just another benefit because, if we do get a storm this year, it's going to be a lot more next year. So,
Have you seen any increases right now because of the petroleum prices going up and gas prices going up? It's obviously
not for tile yet. For shingle, it usually goes up this month, which it has. Not for tile yet, though, no. But usually it does go up a little bit. Usually it's about 6 to 8% of material costs goes up. But we haven't seen anything, no.
And fuel surcharges to get the tile in?
No, so the tile's actually made right here in Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no issues with that. I mean, all the material is right here in Florida.
So there was a pretty significant increase in the bid or the quote that came. What was that about? I think the original quote was less than what the current quote is.
Yeah, so I didn't have the shed roof for the tennis courts. I didn't have the guardhouse, and then the roof for the pool too as well.
Like inflation or anything like that?
No, I think we had added a couple things to it too as well, and I didn't have I think I gave you just like a ballpark or something too.
Didn't you also do a repair on the guardhouse?
Yeah, he had me add that too on there as a separate line.
But didn't you do a repair?
We did, yes. Yeah, that was strictly, wasn't due to leaks. That was just tiles that had flown off, I believe, from the hurricane, so.
But that was small, unfortunately, it's not that worth it. So that's why, when I started seeing all these things, and every time we get a heavy rain, we just have another one of these, because it obviously takes time to deteriorate. And as it deteriorates, then we have more
That's very
issues.
helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There's a bunch of tiles up there right now with like old repairs like this. I mean, that are just, the sealant's already dried out.
Yeah.
And it's already caved in, and it's just, water's obviously getting through there again. I mean, you probably have 50 to 60 like that up there. I mean, they're just like this where, they're not doing anything. But at this point, it's pointless to try and, save or replace any of these too. So just so you guys know that too.
I have one last question. Is there anything we can do now if we don't pull the trigger on replacing the roof immediately that will help us prevent any of this over the next year?
No, not really.
Tarp the roof.
No, there's not. Yeah, I mean, tarping the entire roof would be, that would be it. So.
Okay.
But yeah, let me know if you guys have any other questions.
Great, thank you.
Availability is, now let's assume there was a hurricane, or we have a lot of tile. Because you told me 6 weeks to get material, more or less.
Right now, it's 6 weeks. If we have a hurricane,
And
3 months, 4 months. Yeah, I mean, not last year, a year and a half ago with Milton, tile, we were 3-4 months out. And that's based off, getting material and then having the right crew do it too. It depends on both. So
Okay, assuming, right now, hopefully there is no hurricane, but assuming that if there is a hurricane and we have damage, how do we tarp this whole roof? What do we do?
yeah, depending on where the damage is at, we can tarp it. Yeah, that's a service that we offer too as well. It would just be tarp and sandbags.
No, I'm just trying to make sure that we have there's a plan.
Yeah.
And it has, hopefully we never have to deal with it. I'm sure you know these things, but you have to be careful how you tarp it, because I have a CDD where they actually get more damage with tarping by putting some holes through the roof.
Yeah, we use sandbags,
Right.
that way for a tile roof. Now, if it was a shingle, it'd be different, but for this, it's going to be sandbags. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
very
Yeah,
much.
no problem.
Appreciate it.
All right, supervisors, we do have a few,
Yep.
well, we have several items that we still have to cover, so. We're gonna move back into staff reports. Rick?
Wow. I'm right up against that one's high.
Yeah.
Okay, in your package, you got the signage repair. We ended up, we got the two bids, because the size of the pool project was fairly small, so some of the other vendors just, it was just too small for them. The one vendor who's the low, several years ago, he was giving me great numbers. He does great work, but he's up in the Clearwater. And then when we had the storms, he just stayed up there and he had plenty of work. So now he's reached back out. So now we got some pretty good numbers there. So my recommendation would be to go with Mike's signs for $5,575.
I just got one comment. I just went online and there's a couple of websites one is called Traffic Sign, and then it was called Traffic Signs. And they're selling it appears to be the same quality stop sign for like $80. Can we buy an $80 stop sign and have Dan put them on ourselves? And they sell one-way signs and four-way stop signs, and everything is dramatically cheaper. Would that make sense?
I'm not a proponent of that at all.
Well, no, they're all F.
They do have to meet certain requirements. I don't know if those do, but
So-
yes, they have.
That's one thing. But let's take a look at was it Blue Sky, the installation of,
Speed bumps on
the Blue Sky installation of the planting and stuff like that. I'm not saying they had anything to do with the irrigation, but the fact that things aren't all wrapped up together, I don't know if always going with the cheapest vendor is the right decision. Rick, you've got experience with these vendors. So I would advocate for going with Rick's recommendation rather than just say $2,000 on something in this case. That's my opinion. The other board members might feel differently.
Could we do one pass?
I mean, it's a piece of metal. As long as you're buying it, it's comes with hardware. I don't know. I just don't see how it goes. You could buy something for $80 and then pay $250.
Well, there's only two stop signs.
Well, I know
all these other signs.
They have speed bump signs. I have always stop signs. I have all, yeah.
What about custom-made Benito signs?
The individual specific signs that they don't make it. I didn't look into that, but in terms of stop signs, one-way signs, stop all-way signs, that have that, I would leave it up to Rick to confirm that they are actually compliant to whatever.
Those have come with poles?
The ones with the post, they're very specialized.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the different thing.
Yeah.
But, we do have another community that the three of us work together, and they have maintenance staff. And we do know a vendor that could furnish materials, and their staff does as much as they could. They can't do all of it, but they do as much as they
I wouldn't
could.
expect Dan to be putting poles in,
Right.
and even buying the pole down, but I'm just replacing a stop sign. The pole's already there. We're just screwing on, taking off some nuts and bolts and putting on some nuts and bolts, and takes 10 minutes.
Right.
To save some couple $1,000. I mean, it's up to you, but.
Well, if you pick and choose on this and you take out, I mean, the stop signs are $250, so you're not saving thousands unless you do a whole bunch of these.
But
But if they can't supply all of them, where are you gonna get the rest of them? Because nobody's gonna want to do it for 3 signs.
And that's what you run into, because they put their mobilization, they spread it out through the project, so.
It's a big mobilization for.
I don't know, I appreciate the thought, but
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we could maybe separately from this, we could get one and test it out and see how it does. But
Or Rick has a vendor, he just said, so we know what works. It's just a matter of just physically doing it.
Well,
I'm confused.
I guess that'd be a question for Keith. Do you think Dan would?
We've already gone out and looked at some of these signs to see if we could take the rivets that are out. Some are riveted on, some are glued, some have the double back tape. So it can be done, sure, if the old stop signs. Maybe you just want to make sure that it's the same size that's going to go in that.
and then we'd
The
be
octagon.
redeploying Dan as a resource from what he could be doing to, or should, different things. It's just a redeployment of resources at that point as well. So I appreciate the thought, I do, Rich, yeah. I just.
you
I
looking at
don't even
motion?
think to save the $2,000 when you
I
multiply
don't
the
think
number of
so either.
signs times the cost.
Should I just make a motion? Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve $5,725 for Mike's signs to complete the signage within the community. Does that require in preparation of the contract?
Rick, you'll
Okay.
prepare the contract, right?
Okay, I make that motion.
Rick and I have a deal.
Okay, all right, good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, 3 in favor, 1 against.
Okay, the next thing on your agenda was the radar data.
Yes.
And what I've done is I've gone through all of 2025, just so you got month to month to compare. 2 of your 3 signs are cloud-based signs. The one on Benito is the older sign, so that report looks a little different. But yeah, you can see that on Benito, the average speed was 26 miles per hour, but that does include the carts. It's supposed to
include the cars.
It does include carts. It's not supposed to include pedestrians, and that's what they told me. It does not. They got some way to, if you're under like 5, I think it will take them out. And then the number I like to look at is the 85 percentile, and that discounts a lot of the carts. So your average speed is probably more accurate with the 85, which is 31 miles per hour. On Benito, we have 1/3 of the motorists that are respecting the speed limit. On Padova and Passaro, Padova, the 85 percentile speed is 25, with the 81% respecting the speed limit. Maximum speeds on that road month to month, or between 30, week to week, between 33 and 35.
When you say respecting the speed limit, do you mean exactly 25 or lower?
Yeah.
So somebody's going
posted
27.
speed, the posted speed.
So if they're going 27,
right,
they're speeding.
They're counted as a violation.
Yeah.
No, okay. But, I mean, I don't consider 2 miles over.
Yeah.
Well,
I was actually pleasantly surprised by these numbers.
the-
Not the 50, not the 50
Not
mile.
57-mile one?
You're such a
there
cynic.
is.
I thought it was gonna be a lot worse.
There is a standard out there that tolerable speed is a 5 mile per hour grace.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's included in there.
Well, that's why I asked the
But
question.
with the speed limit on Padova between 33 and 35, I'm not sure. I could reach out to them and find that out.
Actually, Padova was the lowest speeds,
Sure
Yeah.
It sure was, yeah,
and that
Yeah.
surprised me too.
surprised me a little bit too, but there's a lot of golf carts back and forth.
But I could do reports, multiple different ways. Like I said, 2 of those are cloud-based. The Cindy, I'm gonna send her the link so she could download the information. She could play with the numbers.
You can tell us the same thing, yeah,
I don't think you're gonna learn any more by doing more
The
now.
big issue is, what do we do about it?
correct. That's why I thought the graphical display was important, is this significant enough for us to take steps? Which I appreciate you putting the data together the way you did. The other thing that I found astounding is the volume of vehicles that passed
Yeah.
on these speed signs. 71,000 vehicles passed in March of last year. So, but anyways, sidebar conversation.
Is that
I just put this
That was
together.
my wife going shopping.
Is that what?
Is it 71,000, is it 71,000 only go in one direction, so?
Yes.
So 70,000 all benefited?
Correct, yeah,
But we've added speed hump
yeah,
since
Yeah.
this,
yeah.
like on Pissarro.
So-
And could we paint the speed bump on Passaro? Hasn't been painted.
It's gotta get removed, doesn't it? Because it's not
It's
what we
gonna have to
want.
be,
It is?
they still haven't
Speed
painted
bump's
it.
not a speed bump.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I'd called you and told you they
hadn't
hadn't painted it.
On
And
Pissarro?
I
I'm
reached
sorry.
out to
Yeah,
them.
they still haven't painted, but I want to talk to you about that because it needs to be
It's not-
raised.
I thought they were gonna put
It's
another
like,
layer
it's
of-
like going over this,
Yeah.
That's what I said, it's
Yeah,
like going
I
over
thought
my
they were
phone.
gonna put another layer of asphalt, and that's why it's
Yeah.
so low.
because it's, yeah, you can take it full speed with a golf cart, not really go, what was that?
I do that all the time.
Yeah, so the one on Pissarro just needs to be looked at
Okay.
before it's
Okay.
painted.
I'll-
I was wondering about that.
We should,
On the way out.
maybe after budget time.
Yes.
We should talk about this because.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Thank you for this.
The next thing is the manhole repairs, or the
To some
raised
extent.
manholes. I reached out to about like 7 different vendors. I got 2.
Yeah,
The one is $750 for each.
Right,
The other one was $1,200.
right.
And what I've requested is a 10-foot area. That should give us good, instead of an abrupt, if I go only 2 foot out.
Dangerous on golf cart.
Yeah, it is.
Right, so I did it for 10 foot around it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
And
we
those-
actually
and
And then
discussed
the
it
golf cart goes
briefly at
the
our
other
last
direction to
board.
go around it, next thing you know, there's a car coming.
And that's just for your consideration.
There were about 10, I know there's a couple in Portofino, but there's about 4 or 5 in Passaro.
I think I counted,
He's got 13.
I think I counted 13.
Do we wanna do a not to exceed, and then I can work with Rick to get this going?
Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah.
So that's at the 750 for each location.
Mhm.
So so you're saying there might be a couple more, just wanna do like a not to exceed of 12,000 or?
I mean, $750 each.
Yeah, it says there's 13 that he
Oh,
identified.
you got 13.
So in case there's more, do we just wanna do 12,000, not to exceed? Is that enough?
I mean,
yeah, I think that's
yeah,
it,
I don't know.
because then that'll give coverage.
Okay, so I'm gonna make,
Because otherwise, 10 is 7,500, 15,000 for 20. I mean,
Well, 13 and 750 is 9750.
right,
So it
yes,
gives you breathing room. And
yes,
if there are no more, it's 97.50.
right,
yeah,
It's not gonna be exactly $12,000 put on that anymore.
yeah, but just in case, okay, all right,
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
the 12.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that, the board approve expenditure of $12,000 on, manhole repairs on district streets not to exceed $12,000.
Second that.
We need subject to preparation of contract by council.
Sure.
But Rick and I will prepare it just like
Right.
the other one. Rick
There you
usually
go.
does it, and then
Okay.
we review it.
Right, there we go.
We've worked out a form.
Okay. Well, cool.
I don't think any of these areas are in your planned roadway paving in the next few years anyway.
I'll verify that.
Because we did part of Port.
We need a second, right? Did you? Oh,
I have a second.
second, okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Last thing that I got is the sidewalk repairs. Very frustrated when I drove down and saw that they'd not done anything. While I was sitting here, reached out to him. He said that he cannot get here till May.
We'll have to rewalk this whole place again.
4th.
Yeah.
May the
No
4th. So they have never signed the contract because the contract, I have a date on there. So, if they signed it, I could have enforced that. So again, while I was sitting here, I reached out to another vendor, the second place vendor who was $700 higher. He could be out here tomorrow to start the grinding.
And what was the delta and it was tiny, would you say?
It was, the low bid was $20,510.
Right.
The second bid was $21,269.
If it's 750, I mean,
Yeah,
you're gonna reward the guy who's not
right.
responsible.
Exactly.
Is that A&J?
Yes, it would be A&J,
Can you call,
which is done.
can you call him up and see, can you just ask him, can he match the quote? Just ask him.
You're gonna call Blanca.
Hey,
And since he's not signed the contract, I could just tell him that we have
I negotiate my business all day long, that's all I do.
And yes, I could ask him.
Well, but if he says no, we need to
Yes.
authorize the additional.
I'll authorize, I make a motion to approve it up to the 750 over, but hoping we can get him done.
$700.
Is
And
that a motion?
I believe
You're
you
authorizing-
guys authorized up to $25,000 originally.
I think we
Okay.
did too. I think we
Okay.
gave a not to exceed a 25 grand.
Right.
Right, Belinda?
So then you'll just let me know which one to sign.
Okay, cool.
Yes, and
Okay.
I will prepare that right when I get back. The Andy's already looked at the old one or from the other guy, so I just switched the names out, but I'll get that done and I'll give it out to him for signature and I'll get it to the chair to finalize.
Okay.
And that's all I had.
What's your take on the presentation by Westfall? Do you have a gut feeling on, they seem like lovely people, by the way, they've done great work, but what's your gut feel on our roof? Any reaction?
I was looking at the photos, it was a little concerning, so to see that much rotted. But yes, valleys are definitely your worst spot, absolutely. And what causes that, I really don't know. But I mean, Westfall's a very reputable.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, no
Yeah.
question about that, it's
So-
just a reaction, a reaction.
Yeah, like I said, I was a little surprised to see how much was up there. The damage.
All right. Anybody else?
I wore my
I see this, Taz.
Sergio tie.
You need your Mrs. Taz tie now,
Yeah.
your Mrs. Taz.
Yeah,
My Sergio tie.
yeah, it's awesome.
Who wrote this club on the second hole?
I didn't think you did that.
Randy, do you have anything to report?
I do have a few items, just some updates, basically. Regarding the Vesta, the suit's been filed. Last we heard it was out for service. Rich and I haven't heard anything further from Mike Prohibney, but I'll reach out, see if I can get an
Yeah, I
update.
sent an email to him last week to follow up and I have not heard back.
Is that typical that we don't hear back for that length of time?
Well, it's been filed and it's out for service, so we don't know whether they've gotten service.
Gotcha, they don't know, okay, gotcha,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So I did follow up last week, like, it was Wednesday or Thursday, in preparation of the meeting, just so I can come back.
We hadn't heard from
Thank you,
Mike
Rick.
yet.
Okay.
But I can check it independently anyways.
Yeah, and we,
We got
and
my
I also,
assistant on.
and we also asked for next steps, because I don't know what happens, and if they are served, what, do they, do they have to respond? How long do they have to take? I don't know those
They
answers,
have
so.
20 days to respond from the date of service, and depending upon how they respond will dictate what our next steps are. Because, just using extremes, if they go, we give, and, here's all your documents and a bunch of money, then it's over. But if they dig their heels in and we find ourselves going in a different direction, so, we kind of have to wait and see how they respond. But they do have 20 days from the date they are served. We haven't heard yet if and when they were served, although, like I said, I have my assistant look at that independently as well. So that's an update there. Just follow up on, we had a discussion about the maintenance agreement for Laurel and whether one existed or not. We said we would check with the city. We have not located it.
Okay.
So I don't think anybody's very surprised, but I did want to close the loop on that. The other item I wanted to just do is a little bit of a legislative update, which I've been telling my CDDs. There's two pieces of legislation that made their way out of the legislature, passed the House and the Senate. They're with the governor. As of my last check, the governor had not executed either one of them yet. One of them is to do with sovereign immunity protections, and it's a compromise bill that went through a lot of machinations, but the end result is that if signed, it raises the limits that were 200,000, 300,000 individual or per person per occurrence to 350, 500,000. But it has some other compromises, like it reduces the statute of limitations for bringing a tort action down from 4 years to 2 years. It changes some pre-suit notice. There's a whole bunch of items that in play there. If it's signed, it will be effective July 1st. Obviously, Aegis, your insurer, knows all about it. They sent us a memo on it. So everybody's on top of that.
Have they taken a position on it?
No, I knew you were gonna ask. So we do have our budget figures, proposed budget figures for the next fiscal year, but this has not been taken into consideration yet. Because the governor has not yet signed the bill, so we don't know how this is gonna impact you or any other district for that matter. We have a note to remind you of it during your budget workshop to see how much you want to incorporate some sort of a contingency for it, but we don't know what that contingency may or may not be.
Yeah, we don't know if he'll sign it. If he does sign it, whether it will have any impact on the rates, we just don't know. The second piece of legislation that made it through that will be relevant, not really relevant to Venetian, but relevant to CDDs, is a new potential law that will allow for the recall of CDD board members. And it's a very complicated, convoluted process that involves petitions and committees, and eventually leading to a formal referendum conducted by the supervisor of elections. That also is with the governor for signature, and we'll see what happens in that regard.
Sounds like it's gonna take longer to recall than the actual term.
So you're safe.
You're
safe.
Yeah, you're safe now.
That will have an effective date of July 1st, and I think I misspoke. The statute of limitations one has an effective date, if executed, of October 1st.
Okay.
So, those are the two matters to update you from the legislator, and certainly we'll let you know when the governor executes either of those. And then the only other item was, Jill, do we want to bring up? And I spoke with Ken briefly through email about the Swift mud permitting issues.
Well, I had, because Jerry Jasper had been involved in all of this going all the way
Absolutely.
back, I forwarded him my email and I got a fairly lengthy set of or a couple of things from him. So I'm thinking, let me forward that to you both.
So
And then, yeah, I think I'll send it to everybody just so we all have it, because, Jerry being Jerry, it was like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So,
I have 10 documents to back.
yeah, you think? I'm sure he does. He's been very quiet, but he hasn't lost anything. So, anyway, I'm gonna forward this around to everybody and then maybe we can decide
Absolutely, we can.
what next to do with it, because it wasn't what I was expecting.
So with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
I don't think I am.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Greg, do you have anything to report?
We've talked about a bunch of things. If you just give me 2 minutes, I'll run through a list of projects that are either done or in process. And 2 new hires. LaDonna at the front desk is working with Alexandra. Jim Lujan, you've seen him around. Today's day 3 for him. He is stepping in for Ray. I mentioned earlier that Michael Fisher, Matt's assistant that he brought with, has been on the fence back and forth for a couple of minutes whether he wanted to stay. He officially resigned yesterday. His last day will be April 26th. I have been interviewing to replace Ray and have a couple other people in mind that may be able to come in and fill for Michael.
Has Matt interviewed any of those other candidates?
All of them. Well, anybody that I've moved forward with.
Okay.
There's some candidates that are just
Not working. Sure.
not worth it. And then, for either budgetary reasons like that, there's a couple of very qualified maintenance people, but their rates tend to run between $33 and $40 an hour.
Okay.
So we end the interviews not immediately, but in the beginning, so we don't waste a bunch of time talking to that. But I have 2 or 3 candidates that Matt will interview. We talked about it this morning before we bring him on board. And he interviewed Jim too. He really liked him. Speaking of maintenance, Matt is on court number 1 today, digging a hole 2 by 2 to see about the under court irrigation system. With any kind of luck, it is a leaching issue from rock to rock and not a liner or underground piping. Mike Perino is the gentleman that was mentioned from Edward Don, who's come out and give us a couple of quotes. One of them was for the Finance Reserve Committee to talk about kitchen equipment that's out of date, lived past its life expectancy. We categorized the kitchen equipment in 3 different categories: need yesterday, need soon, and aspirational. So I believe that he did resupply the most recent quote that had need now. And if I'm not mistaken, that was, do you remember the number on that? I think it was around 80. 80 or 90? Yeah, between 80 and 90 for the need now kitchen equipment. We did have a good meeting with Bob and Nancy, Jamie, myself, and Mike from Edward Don to talk about the La Sala. A lot of variance between the pricing on the La Sala equipment comes down to the architectural design of the actual bar and the determination whether there'll be a walk-in refrigeration unit, which I recommend that there should be out there for beer kegs and wine and everything else that needs to be kept cold. We did a really thorough geothermal presentation at the facilities committee meeting. The last piece of information I need to get to Juliet is about the gas meters and how much gas we run. But Rich brought up a very good point about the increase in electricity, whether it'll be a wash or not. One aspect of the geothermal system was the cooling of the pool in the summertime is beneficial. It doesn't come with the furnace and heaters.
Right.
I was surprised to learn about that.
Didn't it get like 90 something?
It was tonight, it was night over the summer, was that, but tonight, when it was broken, well, last summer, when we did it. Well, it was up at around 90.
Yeah, well, just like your home pool.
Which is-
Yeah, my pool was 90 last year.
Actually, I'm looking, my pool number was about 84, because I don't get the afternoon sun.
So we talked about the lights being already swapped out in the yoga room. The fitness room is being done today, should be done by 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. Tricia from FitRev is the one who gave us a bid and a quote. We'll be talking about that with the fitness committee about which direction we move forward. One of the challenges I've seen in the first 5 months I'm here is when a piece of equipment goes down, to have that equipment serviced sometimes takes as long as a month or 6 weeks, which caused a little bit of hubbub with motherboards and electronic.
I was gonna say, that was an electronic issue, that wasn't a service deployment issue, like, so the maintenance guy got out here.
Right.
It was just the mechanism itself was on
Yeah,
bad order.
That's what I meant. I mean, the equipment didn't break the utilitarian part of the equipment.
Yeah.
But in order for the equipment to work, it requires the motherboard.
One recommendation on that, because I was talking to somebody, they saw the out of order sign, maybe just put a little note at the bottom, pour it on the water so people know it's being attended to as opposed to just
Out of order?
out of order.
Okay.
Just, to look, gives people an idea that, yeah, we know it's out of order and it's been addressed and we're waiting for a part to come in, as opposed to some other, doesn't cost us anything, and the few people that mentioned it might just make them feel happier.
Yeah, and the challenge with that was it was out of order temporarily, then it was fixed.
Yeah.
And then it went out of order again a week later with the same issue.
Do you think if the equipment were under lease, it would get maintained faster?
Yes, more frequently and faster.
Yeah.
And then, and they would also have the electronics equipment to replace things that break and go down. Because I know the motherboard that we ended up getting came from Washington State. So just the delivery time on it was 10 days after they identified what the problem was. So yes, it would be quicker and it would be local and it would be a more frequent of servicing.
And from Hampton's standpoint, do you know that this come up in any of your conversations? Do their clubs typically lease versus buy?
Different clubs do different things, depends on the size of the club, but they do a little bit of both. I know that's kind of a vague answer, but there's not a one size fits all.
Right.
Yeah. There's clubs that have fitness rooms that have 3 pieces of equipment, and there's clubs that have 50. So depending on, I would imagine that most of the clubs with 50 use service contracts. I know I did it at Royal Palm, and I know I did it.
Meaning they lease?
They lease.
Yeah, and if we go that direction, and I don't have a say one way or the other, but what I would like to consider then is not just consider the cardio equipment, but consider the strength training equipment as well. Because our stuff is all dated, so if we were gonna do a lease the entire room, so to speak, everything that's in there. So just something to think about. I'm not, not jumping to any decisions or anything, but it would be something I would certainly look at.
Well, that's good to hear that perspective, because that part of the equation was leave that part, the strength training alone. I know, that was the directive.
Okay.
Well,
So
because
that's what we
it's
did.
newer, I think.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to me, the biggest issue is the electronics.
Electronics.
The cardio was
6 or 7.
replaced first.
Well, I was the chair of the recreation committee when we replaced the weight equipment, I believe.
Technology's changed though from a strength training perspective as well, so, I mean, it's just food for thought. I just kind of want to throw out the idea.
Sure. Well, you're part of that meeting too.
Yes, I am.
Good,
Yeah,
so you can help,
Yep.
facilitate that
Now,
broader.
when you lease equipment, what happens at the end of the lease? Is there a lease term?
There's a lease term.
There's different options. You
There's
can do
lease
3-year,
buy.
5-year, 7-year.
Yeah, there's a,
Buyout.
Program replaced.
It depends on.
it depends on the contract and what we want to decide with. And
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that up to fitness to, have them dig into it and look into it and give their feedback and what their advisement
And
would
you
be on.
can't buy with and get a service contract as you.
You absolutely can, and that's something that we need to look at. Yeah, yeah. There's, the devil's in both of them.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Then you have a true cost. of
Paying
it.
one way, paying another.
Exactly.
But at least it gets service. more
Yes,
efficient.
Yeah.
that's right.
Exactly.
And then you also stay current because they
Right.
replace it 3 years, 5 years.
That's
down
right.
the road.
Ken, what is the reserve number in there for the equipment?
It's about 85,000
Okay,
for each,
all right, that's,
area, so it's a couple $100,000.
okay, cool, thank you. That's good information for me to have. All right.
There's a couple of vendors that have been in place here for some time. For example, our cleaning company.
Yes.
We're taking a hard look at the cleaning company, what they do, what they don't do.
What's the name of the cleaning company?
Graceful Heart.
That's exactly right.
Graceful Heart, and, thank you. And the name that would be on like the amenity card, would it be Graceful Heart? Or would it be the individual?
Melissa Steele is
Melissa Steele.
the
Okay, thank
mother of the daughter that used
Thank
to work at the front desk. And about 2 months ago, they switched our service provider to a gentleman named Charles, not service provider, the gentleman who's on site.
Charles, okay, cool,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, thank you.
And we can sidebar and talk about that.
Yes.
All I want to say now is we are looking
Good.
and contacting and staying in communication with them about what they are in our facility.
Perfect, perfect, because I think that's where some of the shortfalls at with garbage cans.
And that's just part of the equation.
Yep,
Another thing.
understood,
Another
and other things, yes.
The same thing comes true with some of our chemical, dish cleaning, sink cleaning, floor cleaning, window cleaning, employee uniform, all the different providers and suppliers that are little bit hodgepodge pulled together. I had a meeting with Chef and Luciano last week with Cintas, who is a supplier and a provider that we have a preferred purchasing program through Hampton with Cintas. So consolidating some of the things and even to take it to the next level, talking about AEDs, fire extinguishers, some of the things that are or are not on property and are or are not maintained. This is one of the areas that having a facilities director really stays on top of that. Someone who's does more than, so something to look at. Like I said, we're feeling it one layer at a time here and just keep going. I see mechanical came out and fixed an air conditioning unit. We had a coil issue last week. We had 2 of the units not working. They repaired them. That's why it was like an icebox in here this morning. So how long that repair will last, not sure. They cleaned up the coils. They had to order a part. They'll be back within the next week or so, this coming week, to replace a specific part, which leads me on to the bids and proposals for HVAC. So I have not filled out a CapEx request with you all yet.
Okay.
But I think we went through a pretty thorough process with 3 different vendors, 2 of which came back twice. We've got the quote down to, I think, a very reasonable number. It is $22,700, which includes the drywall repair and the access panel repair.
Oh, I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, it's about 20,000 without, and it's an additional 1,900 with. Which kind of leads me to the point with artistry. I mean, I don't know how you all feel with artistry and whether they're the right vendor. I know they've done some large painting projects and our dumpster project. But Jason is with artistry. He's the one that quoted this with the drywall access point repair.
He was a new vendor. I mean, we never used him before. He's a new vendor that we found to do painting and all the repair work. We're not married to him.
Okay.
He was reliable. He follows up. If something screws up, he's not running away.
He fixes it.
He fixes what and we've had some issues, but he's come back and repaired them, which is always the challenge. If you could find somebody better, cheaper, faster.
Well, I'm glad that you opened that door because I'm not in any big hurry to do it. As you guys know, there's plenty on the plate right now. But I'm glad that you said that because what is a struggle and a challenge is, and I just have seen 2 projects where we thought they were done, we scheduled them to be done, we paid for them. The dumpster doors where the tops weren't fixed right. And now we've got another issue where the men's locker room doors and the mold in the ceiling was fixed, walked away. And I went in there and took pictures. I'm like, no, you're coming back. So they're coming back. But he's now, like Rich said, he's coming back and fixing it, ripping it out, repairing it. But it's hard enough to coordinate and organize the projects to be done once, but when it's a couple of times, it's a struggle. So I hope that they step up and continue because it's nice to have the convenience of somebody who lives in Venice, be able to manage that. The 3 contractors for the HVAC, I see True Blue and BI. We landed on BI, mechanical. And that was with a lot of help from Juliet and the facilities committee to help pull that together.
Thank you.
Question on that.
Juliet, I just showed up.
She's so good.
No, she's
Are they
excellent.
using Carrier? B&I?
No, we're not using Carrier on this. We're not using Carrier on these.
I couldn't tell
Which
what they were
which
using.
units?
It was originally the quotes originally were Carrier, but we're using a different manufacturer now because she said has had a lot of success. The industry's had a lot of success, and what we're providing is comparable in all specs, warranties,
Who's the maker?
Yeah,
whatever.
but I'm just asking.
Which maker?
Who is it?
It doesn't
Couldn't
say.
tell.
It should say there.
No, it doesn't say.
It doesn't say on this
Find it.
proposal.
Two of the
It doesn't
3
say.
didn't identify who they were.
What do you call it? The proposal was supposed to include the specs. Remember, we asked Ray to go back and maybe we didn't get that, to go back and get the specs because I wanted the specs included to the proposal. The proposal didn't say it, so I wanted the specs as part of the proposal, so we knew exactly what we're buying, so there was no.
AMST 6.
That's what I took as the units.
But what is that?
We'll follow up with Juliet. If Andy, you can start working on the proposal. the contract, I'll reach out to Juliet and have her reach out to get that, the specs, and then put more purchasing to be attached to the bid, or do you want to wait 2 weeks? Or actually a month, it's up to you.
Well, I think the original proposal that was not carrier, let me go look on my desk. I'll step away after my portion, which I'm almost done, one more bullet point. I'll step away because I do have a folder with B&I information, and it may have what that unit is with a better description than AMST.
Yeah, because we did ask for a specific, a whole spec sheet with the warranties, so it was part of the
There is a
proposal.
spec sheet in here, that looks like from one of the other vendors.
Yeah.
I couldn't
It says
tell
it's a
what
good
one.
one. How could you not
No,
remember that?
It's not, I don't think it is a good one.
Right.
I don't think we are getting a good one.
Figure out
That's what it says.
what they were installing.
And if it's not on the desk,
But
then
that was
reach out.
It's called Venetian room.
Yeah, they did. If that's the unit, that's a good thing.
I don't know. Because I had the same question, I said, it doesn't say exactly what we're getting, and I wanted all the specs and
Yeah.
warranties
Yeah.
as part of the proposal.
I personally, it didn't, they were both good with me.
Do you want us to vote on this, or do we want to wait?
I couldn't figure out
It's something,
who was installing. Oh, it's the same.
well,
the same.
it's a month, I mean,
I don't know.
we can't vote 2 weeks, because we don't have a meeting, so.
Okay.
You want to
Dakin?
vote and give it up?
Maybe Dakin, D-A-I-K-N?
Yeah, that's it, I think it is a date.
Oh,
I think it is a
Dakin.
date.
Dakin.
Dakin
Okay.
sounds
Did you look
right.
up AMST?
Okay.
No.
I looked.
No, I'm on the third proposal is the same as B and I.
Dakin sounds correct, Dakin sounds familiar.
Okay.
Well, so should you want a motion for $20,770?
No, plus you have to do the additional, it's.
Oh, for the repair.
The total with the drywall was 22.7. 1,900 of that was the drywall cutting and replacement.
So if your decision is to go with B&I today, then we'll need a revised proposal, which has the correct pricing, as well as the specs and stuff that you're looking for, that I could then attach to the contract agreement without.
Well,
It's a different vendor.
I think the pricing, yeah.
The pricing stays the same.
Pricing is correct.
Yeah, the pricing
They
is correct.
spelled Venetian wrong.
Oh, okay.
The price is, yeah, it's just for us to understand, it's gonna cost us $23,500.
Understand.
Well, and the bill says the Venetian Community Development District.
It was my misunderstanding. I thought B&I was I know they're not drywall people, but I thought they were coordinating the whole project.
No, they told us what they needed for drywall for access, and that's when Jason from Artistry stepped in and gave us the bid for that. And their quote for their units and labor was 20,770.
Got it. My misunderstanding.
That's all right.
And I will get them, I will reach out to Juliet so she can reach out to them to get them up, to update to make to the Venetian CDD and also attach.
You guys are good with Dakin? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no, Juliet, I mean, I'm not familiar with it either, but Juliet says no, it's a very it's a worldwide, well renowned, it's newer to the US. She said they're comparable, it's as good as Carrier, the warranties and everything. I'm leaving it to her expertise, I can't.
Are we voting on this?
You want to have this vote to be approved so we can do not to exceed X dollars?
By the way, the HVAC company I work for up north, we used commercial, industrial, used a lot of Dakin product.
Oh, okay.
For what it's worth.
So, like I said, so.
Sorry, you can't speak.
So I'm
Take it back.
I'm relying on Juliet expertise and actually.
All right, so make the motion.
All right, so go ahead and make the motion.
So I make a motion to approve BI for $20,770.
Subject to preparation of a contract.
Yeah, and I will get the updated information.
I'll second that.
And the updated specs.
Yes.
You can work a break on the contract.
I'll second that. I don't know if you heard me, Melinda.
I did.
Okay, good.
And my last point is I had a nice conversation with Andy last week.
Oh, we gotta vote. We gotta vote.
Oh, my apologies.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And then in terms of the
Subject to
repair,
CapEx.
that's right. Well, yeah, so well, that actually raises an important question.
Haven't got one yet.
Should the CapEx request include the 1,900 and change to repair the drywall?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but should I just work with Greg? Since it's within my
That's
limit,
within your-
get that done? Yeah, we'll just get that done that way. We'll just make sure it's included in CapEx request that Ken's not gonna get, so,
Sounds good.
all right.
Well, along that line, since before we move on, should there be any CapEx for the number of repairs for the equipment that have occurred over the last year? No, separate, just operational?
Probably maintenance. I don't know how much they are, but
Well, between that and the roof, it's,
are these the same units? Or different units?
what do you mean the same units? Are they
The
like-
repairs are on, these are the two.
These are the repairs are on, some of the repairs, there's been multiple repairs on multiple different units.
Right, but unless
So
they
some of the
extend,
repairs are.
unless they extend the life 5 years.
Right, no, they don't. They don't.
Yeah, then it's maintenance.
And last thing I kind of wish I was able to attend the sunshine thing this morning, but I had a good conversation.
There's a handout there.
Well, I'll take that, and I've read a bunch, but it's different. It's different when you engage and interact and ask questions. Had a good conversation with Andy last night, who outlined some of the processes and procedures for communicating. Emails are public information. Emails and requests, I'm really required to provide the request information and be conscientious about the amount of time spent on the explanation of the whys and hows of different information that's public and provided. But I really need to be conscientious about not sharing requests or suggestions or ideas. So basically, sharing any emails is good. Sharing any emails and conveying messages or questions or inquiries, not good.
Right, we had a discussion about not being a go-between.
Mhm.
So that, since we weren't like,
Go between.
hey Greg,
Relayer.
tell Jill X and Jill, hey Greg,
Right,
tell Cindy Y. Yes,
Right, okay.
But pretty much everything that I get is public information.
yes, it is, public record. Unless, again, we didn't go over this, but they're very limited, but there are some exemptions, social security number or
Right.
something like that.
Medical.
Exempt information. Right.
Thank you for that.
Maybe one final thing, since we don't meet again until the 27th of April, how much longer till when are we doing the Monday, Tuesday Tiki Bar open deal?
It's a great question. When have you done it in the past?
We never have.
We have-
never have.
This is uncharted territory.
My first thought would be after Mother's Day. Until Mother's Day, which is in the beginning of May. It's dwindling off a little bit. We're, at least with the Tiki Bar.
Season.
Yeah, so that brings us to a great point. If I ask 5 people when is season over, I'll get 5 answers. I mean, it dwindles off. There's a little bit of a shoulder month or two
Yes,
in the beginning and at the end.
right.
So when does it actually quote unquote end? I don't know. That's my suggestion would be after Mother's Day. But the good news is having alcohol only and not having food service, it's been basically a break-even proposition. We're not losing money
Perfect.
by having the bar open. But it will probably get to a point come Mother's Day or Easter. I'm sorry.
Is it something we could play by ear? Because we're doing about $600 a day right now, give or take. If you have two successive weeks where it drops to like 400, then the season's over.
It's generally less than that high, I think. There have been some days, especially spring break, those couple weeks were busier. But we'll monitor it. I like your play it by ear.
Yeah, I'm saying if you pick, whatever, because I don't know the break even is, whatever you think the break even, a reasonable break even is, and then after a week or two, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there to sensitize everybody since it was some discussion. We don't need to be.
300 is about, between 250 and 350 is about break even.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
To be
Okay.
honest.
cool.
So
Play it by ear and we'll just monitor it. I'll let you know when.
Yeah.
April 30th. Any questions for me?
It's in the season.
Belinda had to step out, so I think you're up next, Keith.
So we got the credit card fees is now all set up, Greg? We got that resolved?
I believe it is.
Okay, good.
What's wrong with the credit?
She wasn't.
You weren't being cool.
The credit card fee wasn't being
Coded.
charged to residents.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Expect a bunch of complaining now.
yeah, so we will spend $7,000 of revenue, unfortunately, but.
Yeah, offset expense.
Do you want me to talk at all about the different reporting structures, or is that too into the weeds? Sales by item, sales by day, sales.
No, I think we got it.
Don't go there.
I've got all.
We know that sales by item is the number.
Correct.
Yes,
It captures everything.
yes.
Yeah, perfect.
I still want to talk to you because I'm still a little confused by the last email, but I hear what you're saying, I just.
copied and pasted, basically.
All right, because I just couldn't grasp my head around that last email.
I'm gonna pretend I'm Belinda. It's 12:47,
Thank you.
supervisors. We're coming up on the 4-hour mark.
Field manager.
Real quick, Green Toppers is out in the, community right now doing oak trees. Lefty, we had one resident call, I guess, and was complaining that they're ripping trees out and along Pearl Road and all kind of upset about it. And so sent Dan out there, and that's not the case. They're just calling them down, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. Spencer's also gonna be out there. I'm gonna go out there after we get done here. He's gonna check on them as well. So we'll keep them in our thoughts. If we start tomorrow with if A&J is able to get here tomorrow to start doing the sidewalks, okay, which I think is they are the ones who've done most of them.
Yeah.
And they know this community, so, they've done a great job for us over the years. We will walk with them quite a few of these before they get done, and we'll have to take them back. I go, no. So, that we'll keep an eye on that with them. We had Paul out here the other day, with, the access control. That back gate was going to change he sent us a bid. It's not going to be a great deal, couple $100 to change the in and out part of it to lock it. And then the times, make sure the times were set for the closing of the pool and the gym and those things. That's all set. He still asks us about the rear gate, whether we're gonna do something in that area. And I said, well, that's to be continued, and we'll get back with you on that. But, I'm sure that something at some point will be done with that area. I'm not sure when. Cheryl has been talking with Juniper about the replantings out on Laurel Road. I believe it's sometime this month that they're supposed to be out and start tearing out all the dead that happened and replacing it with. There's over 400 plants that have to be redone out there. So, and they're well aware of it. So it's sometime here in the next 3 weeks that is supposed to be happening. I believe that in the thing we're talking about the fence, all right? Cindy and I were with the guy last week, and that's not going to be I don't think it's going to be a hard process. They've done this many, many times, and I think it'll probably go faster than we think, and it ought to look pretty good.
And we're gonna, if the fence vote gets approved, we're gonna align the installation with the course closures, right? So the course has got a closure a week in May and then a week in June. So what we'll do is we'll align it so we're not disrupting any of the members of the course.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's so that's in place.
Excuse me, since we're talking about that, did the opening get resolved?
Yes.
We can close them?
Oh, no, we
No.
can't do that, but we found a huge section that actually reduced the overall cost of the fencing itself, because there's absolutely no reason to install a fence where some of the shrubs and bushes and everything are.
Yeah, it's pretty clandestine. You can't get through
You can't
there.
get through there.
but the bunnies and the, little critters can
All
get
the little
through there.
critters will be able to still get through. All
Be
the
able to go
animals will
through.
still be able to get through.
Painting of monuments, is, supposed to start back again. They were, of course, that's a bigger number, and I'll get you that, so we can ratify that. Get that finished and going. Dan, we started painting the lift stations, because they looked, really bad. And if you go out and look at the ones that are done, it's night and day. Of the way they look, and so they weren't. I think we spent just a 5-gallon drum was $300 for the brown, and then a gallon of white. And I think we might be able to get 3 or 2 monuments out of that. It didn't take long, but a few hours to get it done. So. The signage, of course, will, that'll be, and I did get with some of those signs. I don't know if that company that we voted on to have put them in has the same poles that we have here. All right, Lycans came out, and that was, their poles are gonna, they'll match, the ones we have. Probably just have to tell that guy, these are the poles we want. We don't want separate looking throughout the community. The speed bumps, that one needs to be painted and it needs to be raised. It's just too funny. So, and Rick, when you asked him about it, I said, Rick, that hasn't been painted. Well, they told me that, no, it hasn't been painted yet. So, he's gonna get back with them to see why they hadn't been down here, because when I first noticed that, I called him, and he's let me get with them, and they were supposed to get back down here and paint it. So why not? I don't know. So, let's see.
On that subject, maybe I was dreaming this, but I thought we were putting humps on the intersection of Passaro and Benito, on Benito, by the 2 stop signs on Benito. Because we talked about the golf cart crossing there, and those are the most run-through stop signs. Anyway, I swore we talked about putting speed bumps there.
I think we did too. I don't know.
But they
didn't get put.
No, and they weren't on there to be.
I know, it got dropped somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I looked at that, I went, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that there was supposed to be one here and one as you come in at that stop sign.
Removing the one on Passaro and
Yes.
Benito,
Yes.
putting them on
You're right.
Benito.
You're absolutely correct. Yes.
So I'll get back with Rick and see if we can get them back out here to do that. That needs to happen.
You're right.
I agree.
Really need it.
Yeah. We talked about speed, and that's, a thing here. But the real problem is stop signs. That is, that camera, if you ever wanted to go that camera can be set up to catch people not stopping at a stop sign.
Yeah.
And that is probably worse than speed. They'll go around the speed bumps. They go, they blow through those stop signs like they're not even sitting there. That's, I think, more dangerous than any speed that we have going on in the community is our stop signs.
I regret not keeping those speed bumps all the way across Benito and Padova at that intersection.
Well, we can have them put back on.
People are going around.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I saw somebody coming off Padova.
I nearly hit
They
somebody
drove
in
running in the direction to get onto Benito. I'm watching it.
That's an accident waiting to happen. I
Yes,
think,
it is.
in that, with that scenario. So
Go over them in my golf cart.
Yeah, I don't know.
that's something you guys will, tell me you want
I was
done.
stuck behind somebody driving down 18 miles an hour. So in a car, in a Mustang.
That's,
Can you send out an email to the community just to let them know about the monuments, the tree trimming and the sidewalks? To let people know that work, to be aware and alert, and also to let them know we're actually doing something.
Yeah, because I'm gonna get with you anyway on the Losala link and then just a few sentences just to kind of start getting people into the groove.
Do we want to talk about the fence proposal now, or do we want to wait till we get to that section? Okay,
I think we want to address it today
okay,
in the 5 minutes we have left.
yeah, I know. So what was the proposal? I don't remember. 20,
Yeah.
it'd be capped.
Yes, we're gonna jump into item number 6E, which is the discussion and consideration of the Morrow Road fence estimates, which is behind tab number 4.
So then the question I had on this one, I guess, because I was looking at this thing, is the reason it's not 873 feet, it's 780 feet is because of that impenetrable
Yes,
area.
this
It's that
area,
chunk.
chunk of area
My
right
golf ball's in
there.
there, but-
Yeah, I did find some when I was walking
So
through
am
there.
I.
It's this chunk, and then the way he did it to be able to streamline the cost of the aluminum portion of the fence, is he shrunk the distance on the aluminum portion. We were originally gonna take it and follow the bed. We're gonna take a straight line now. So it's not gonna do a bunch of curving and everything, it's just gonna be a straight line. So we reduced the number on the aluminum spikes that we have, and then, yes, this was a big chunk
Great.
of it.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the level up fencing proposal for 25,983.47, subject to preparation of the contract by council.
And it's a 6-foot fence, right?
And
6
I'll
foot?
second
6
that.
foot,
6 foot, 6
With
foot.
the two ways, but yeah, I guess.
I can't write that fast. Joe, can you repeat that, please?
It's a motion to approve the proposal from level up fencing in the amount of 25,983.47.
Okay,
Subject to preparation of contract by council.
thank you.
Yes, I asked about all the gauge, including the wires that get attached to the
Right.
posts. We talked about all of that when we were out there with the vendor.
They even put a thing down at the bottom.
Yeah, they put a wire down at the bottom so people can't kick underneath it.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any further
Yes.
discussion?
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that we're spending, I don't want people to be able to easily penetrate this thing.
yeah, no, we went through all of that. We talked about the, like I said, the gauge of the wire that's used to attach the fence, the cyclone portion to the posts, the gauge of the posts themselves, the caps. We went through everything.
And the caps are secured on?
The caps are secured on the whole 9
And they're
yards.
getting the permit?
They're getting the permit.
I see it on here.
Yes, they are getting the permit.
You know, and just,
Subject to a CapEx form being.
oh, yeah.
Do I have to fill that out? Who has to fill that out?
Keith can.
All right,
And maybe
subject
just,
to a CapEx form.
We
and
don't
maybe
need to
just,
make that part of it.
and just for the.
This would, excuse me,
That's all right.
this would be capital, not reserve,
Yes,
because it's
Yes.
new.
yes.
It says we're responsible for the permit.
No.
It says property owner is responsible for permit application, if applicable.
All right, let me go.
There's $400 on here for the permit.
Yeah, there's $400 for the permit fee.
Well, maybe that's the permit fee.
Well, I'm gonna draft the contract to make
Okay.
them
Put
responsible,
it in there.
Perfect.
There you go.
so.
I thought
That's
he
why I
said he
asked
would
it,
take
but-
care of the permit
Yes,
when I talked, when
that's
we were
my
talking to him.
understanding too, is when talking to them, they took care of all.
They
that.
took-
That might have just been a
No.
generic thing they forgot to
It's
take
the
off.
last line on.
Yeah,
They might
so-
have, they might have just forgot to take it off.
They probably forgot to take it off, because he said he would be taking care of all the permits and working with the
I'll
city
make
to
sure we
make sure.
reference that.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's got to do all the survey and everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
And I was just gonna say, just for the record, as Ken said, there was only one proposal. Going way back to last fall, when we started talking about this. There were some others and there were much more. So
That's
we've,
awesome, yeah.
we've just gone back to level up, but I just want that on the record.
thank
So,
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Any further
I
discussion?
remember there being that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, way back when.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
10 emails, and we won't get any more.
Wait, it said,
Yeah. can you-
Yeah.
wait, this says 180 linear feet of fence.
That's the,
That's the
that's the
top.
spear top.
Oh,
Trust
Two
me, I
fences.
went through this already, Rich.
okay.
There's
Okay.
2 fences.
I went through and I redid the math.
Can you let
Okay.
us know what the timing of that will be?
Oh, sure, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, he's still gotta do the survey and all
Yeah,
that
and I know it's
stuff.
gotta be done in conjunction with the golf course, so. Okay.
I'd like to get it done the first week in June or May when they're closed.
When they're closed a week in
It's
May.
actually middle of May, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I don't know if he's gonna get the permit that fast and all the survey paperwork done, we'll see. Yeah, Worst case, then the next closing in June.
Right. He
Yeah,
didn't seem to think it was gonna take a week to do it all either.
that's true.
Weather permitting. Yeah, that thing with fencing, pretty good fencing when it's.
Thank you.
thunderstorms
Thank you very
raining
much.
outside.
Okay, thank you, okay.
All right, so just as a reminder, supervisors, you do have the next meeting, which will be a workshop that is going to take place on the 27th.
Yes,
So if you want an agenda posted, which,
we will.
I'll
For
need
sure.
everything,
Yeah,
in
okay.
advance of the workshop so that we can post and send out an agenda.
That's just a workshop, it's not an actual meeting?
No, that's just a workshop.
And so I'm not present until your first meeting and.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next regular meeting is scheduled for May 11th, 2026.
Right.
And then we do have our
It just makes it-
budget workshop scheduled for May 8th. And Greg does have his budget worksheet, and I'm gonna be sending over, I did wanna ask the board regarding the insurance numbers now that Hampton does have insurance separately now. If you just wanted me to allocate insurance in its totality, before we used to spread the insurance on the property side with, the River Club budget. Do we wanna just leave it all under the general fund or just do it the same way we were doing it before?
I wouldn't change it myself. I
Okay.
think to me, it's also like true cost of
Okay,
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
okay. So keep as is.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, on the budget workshop, I mean, I've communicated with Carol McGrail, but are you, Carol is looped in for the 8th?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Great.
And as much stuff as we can get on Excel in advance so we can
Yeah.
review and whatever. And PDFs are great, but Excels are better to actually work with and manipulate.
Sure. All right. And Ken, on the reserve numbers, I saw the first, I'm not even looking at that because I know it's gonna change, so as close as you can, if you could just send me the information once you have.
I should have it, he's out of town, but I should have it before the end of the month.
Okay. All right. On the roofing, I did want to mention, I think it was Byron. I'm not sure if it was Byron or another member of the reserve committee that reached out to.
Yeah, it was Byron.
Best Roofing. I reached out to Best Roofing as well, and they charge you to have, I guess they can prepare a report on the condition of the roof. And they can do that. I think it's $250.
This is best price roofing?
Best Roofing.
Because I had some dealings with best price roofing and another CDD that did not go well.
Yeah, this was Best Roofing. That's who the reserve company recommended. I asked if they had a consultant that was not a roofing company, but they said that Best Roofing does do it, but their pricing was $250 just for a roofing report. So not an actual outside consulting service, but
That's cheap. That seems.
And
that
it's
seems-
suspiciously
That seems too
cheap.
cheap.
yeah, that's what.
Because Andy Jimenez said
4,000,
Yeah.
I mean, to get a guy to come out here and we go up with a roof and look around and then write something up, it's gonna take
Yeah,
4, 6, 8 hours of travel and whatever.
going in the attic.
I wonder if there's a fee and then the 250 is for a written report.
That's what I
More
received,
money.
so I'm
Yeah.
not sure. You know, it's hard to
That
tell
doesn't sound right at all.
Doesn't come out right.
by, you know,
250.
No,
food for thought, but I don't know what response Byron got from them. I don't know if he reached out to Best
he
Roofing
just
or
walked
not.
out.
So,
Probably got a tea time.
all right. All right, so moving on, I didn't know if item number 6A you wanted to move to the next meeting, or if everybody was in agreement with some of the, with the changes, or if there
I had
was.
some comments Cindy
Sure.
had written.
So you have item number 6A, which is the consideration of resolution 2026-04, amending the district's access policy and post orders. This is behind tab number 2.
Yeah,
No.
Well, what were your comments, Sandy? Maybe let's
Okay.
start there.
So under gate duties,
Uh-huh.
Cindy, you had written in B towards the end, the district can control access but cannot deny access.
Correct.
To our roads, but can deny access to the River Club property. I would leave that out.
Okay, because can we at least say River Club Properties members only?
We can, but this is not even really part of,
Okay,
the River
Okay.
Club is
okay.
not really part of the access policy.
So I read what you said.
Yeah,
And I took it all in. Some of it were questions, some of it were.
yes.
And I'm thinking, we already approved this at the prior
Okay, we
meeting.
did.
This
Okay.
is just the formal resolution.
Correct.
that you needed.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I'm looking at it saying, is it worth changing? I didn't see anything in there that was so substantive.
Okay, okay.
That it needed to
I
change.
didn't realize that it had been approved in the prior meeting and this was just. the
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah, we realized that
Okay.
we needed a resolution.
Okay.
So this was just the resolution.
It is. I mean, we could still make changes if we want.
Yeah, yeah, well, we can next week too.
Yeah, I'll hang on to it and then let's just do the approval. I'm sorry, I
We can do it
misunderstood.
like after budget or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because I
that
had,
works.
I just had one comment to add to it, because I didn't.
Should we put it on the agenda for the 27th?
No, let's wait till after the
After the
budget.
budget.
We got so
Yeah.
much, we got so
Okay.
much other stuff.
Okay.
So we just need the resolution.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
We have
So
so
then
much.
it's just a
going on.
motion to approve resolution 2026-04.
Uh-huh.
And that just attaches
Right.
what we approved
What
the
the
last
document
go
was.
in.
Right,
Gotcha.
okay. I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
I already signed it.
Yeah, look at you.
Okay.
Okay.
We still have the monument.
The monuments, Keith was gonna get us the number, right?
The number, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll do the other stuff while Keith, we'll multitask here.
All right, so we now have item number 7A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on March 9th, 2026. These are behind tab number 6 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
No, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Rich. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now have item number 7B, which is the ratification of the operations and maintenance expenditures for the months of well, this is actually February, I only have February.
Yeah, it said January
Yeah.
and February.
No, there's only February.
February, okay.
Right.
I didn't have the January packet. So the expenditures for the period of February 1st through 28 total to $126,238.03. Any questions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion by Jill, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ken. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Well, I just got one question looking at this. Greg, where are we with the phones and the internet for stuff here? Because we're getting, we have a huge bill from Rosetta, we have a huge bill from everybody, the POA, I mean, everybody. It makes sense to get one phone system, it's this, we're all one community, and stop paying, everybody's paying in 3 different places exorbitant amounts of money, so obviously the big consideration is really it's gonna work through you, unfortunately.
I'm glad you brought that up. There's 2 things. One is Ashley Larson from corporate is pricing out different companies, VoIP companies, I think there. One is called Spectrum. And she's also got somebody else, and I forget the name of them. We'll be getting away from Sangoma, I'm sure. But that hasn't been determined yet which company we'll go to. But it leads me perfectly into the next conversation about Alliance. I want to follow up with you to see if there's anything else you need Alliance for before we can take them out. I know that we were holding on to the Alliance contract until all the data was researched.
Andy, that's kind of, what do you think? Alliance has got the backup for our old data that we're paying for. I mean, I have a copy of it. Actually, there should be a copy of it on Greg's. There's copies of it on Greg's computer, but is that enough? Do we need to keep, you want to speak to Mike when you have a conversation about whether we can kill that?
Yeah, because the 2 things, the phones will be switched from Sangoma, it's not yet, but they're still working. I was gonna wait till after season.
How much is the Alliance? Is a couple hundred?
Couple thousand.
Couple thousand?
A year.
Oh, a year.
I think it's more than that. I don't know what the exact quote is, but the bill that comes in is more than a couple hundred.
Okay, maybe we should just wait until we see what the response is and then we can make a
As
determination.
soon as you tell me I can pull the trigger and cancel it, I just didn't want to
Yeah.
cancel Alliance
Don't
until I
cancel
got
it
the.
yet.
No, I'm not.
Greg, I don't know if this helps you, but we just got switched over to an entire Teams platform. Phones, everything.
There you go.
That's part of what's going on behind the scenes, I believe, with Hampton.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and the challenge that I face is unplugging things before things are plugged in.
Yeah.
So those are the two subjects I don't really have any information on for you about Sangoma and when the switch will be over.
That's fine.
But I know we're quoting bids, and then I did have the question for you about Alliance.
As long as it's being looked at and addressed, you know, I know it takes time. These things that we should be able to hook into the Rosetta's expenses and then maybe even the POA, because ultimately we're all financing everybody anyway, you know, between dues and whatever.
Yeah, what's the
Right.
difference, right?
Yeah.
One pocket or the other. I agree.
Exactly. So let's see if we can save some money overall.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
After Memorial Day, my plan was after Memorial Day, when the season drops off for the phones. But the plan with Alliance is whenever you say the word, we can pick it up and call it.
I'm gonna leave that up to you and Mike to just make that decision. And if there's something that we need to do in addition or to preserve something or make sure that something is physically actually preserved or what somehow we can do that, but we'll leave that decision up to you guys.
All right. We can do the consent items and I guess go back to the proposal.
Oh, we got it. It's here.
Consent is really fast.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
All right, so we do have several consent items for your acceptance. There are 3 consent items for your acceptance. These are behind tab number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion by Cindy. Is there a second?
You're too slow, Ken.
Second by Jill. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're gonna move back into the discussion regarding the proposal to paint the Venetian monuments. This is item number 60.
Yeah, I
That's what I remember.
really what we're doing is ratifying.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
11,995. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we ratify the expenditure to Charlotte County painting and resurfacing for $11,995 for painting of Venetian monuments.
Second.
I know, I'm like, I'm not saying
I was waiting for him to come in.
Oh, my goodness.
I was sitting here biding my time.
Me too.
Any further discussion?
Didn't mean that much.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I've been here for a while.
Supervisor requests or comments? Are there any supervisor requests or comments?
Is there, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna give you a heads up. We'll finalize the reserve study by I think the end of the month. So we'll have it before the budget workshop. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. We put in a lot of stuff. We put in the geothermal system, we put in the roof, we put in, phased all the kitchen equipment, the fitness center equipment. There's a lot of stuff in there. And I guess I was somewhat pleasantly surprised at the way it came out. Basically, if you exclude the roof, it wasn't a huge increase over the planned assessments. Maybe it's 20,000 a year for the River Club, which when you break it down by 1,377, it was, not a lot. However, when you put the roof in, which we need to talk about, what Paul was recommending, in order to get, so when you put the roof in, it changes things in the near term significantly. So he was suggesting an $85,000 a year additional assessment within the reserve fund for 4 years, which basically is the cost of the roof,
Right.
to cover it over the next 4 years. So I'm just letting you know that that's currently in the proposal. We're making some changes that maybe can spread that out a little more. Because again, it kind of comes down to, who pays for these things, the current
Right.
members, current homeowners, future homeowners, the more you spread it out, the more future homeowners will pay for the next 25
Or
years.
you pay as you go.
Yeah. So that recommendation is in there, and when we get the study, we should talk about it. So,
Okay, cool.
how you wanna do it. I'm gonna try to spread it out a little bit.
So you did leave the fitness equipment in there for now? Without,
Right now, that it's in there.
okay, perfect, thank
The
you.
one thing that confused me about the reserve study, and the person that's the other I could really talk to you about this, is you made a comment that stuff in the reserve study is put in based upon the useful life, but that's not necessarily what we're gonna replace it.
Well, because it's an estimate.
So, but here's what I got confused on. So the 2022 study has the roof going in 2026. The 2024 study has it going in 2035, and then this study has it coming back for next year. That roof was moved 10 years. When was it 2020?
I have to go look, but
It was like in the
that's-
mid, it was in the mid-2020s.
It wasn't 2026.
2030.
No, it's 2030 now, but it was 2020.
2035.
It got put 2035 now, but it was 2020 something before, got pushed to 2035, and got pushed back. I'm just, I'm
I
a
have to
little
go
confused
look,
by how that
that doesn't sound right to me, but I have it here, but
Yeah, I have it here too.
I don't wanna hold the
Okay.
whole meeting up, because
No, yeah,
it doesn't
it's-
matter, but,
No, it's irrelevant. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to understand how,
well, that doesn't sound right to me, I'll have to
okay,
look at
yeah,
it.
maybe we can talk at the workshop, so this,
But one thing, as we were discussing this, and I started thinking about it, keep in mind, everybody says we've been building up reserves. We've only been building reserves for the
Right.
last 12 years.
Correct.
We didn't start
Hasn't been
a
that long.
reserve fund until 2013.
Oh, it was, okay.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
Well, when they bought 2012 or 13, when they took over the river club, and they started with zero reserves.
Yeah,
So
I knew that.
we've been building like a roof. Everybody thinks, well, the roof, you probably got it mostly covered. Well, you haven't, because
Right.
you've only been funding it for about half its life.
Right.
So that's why a lot of this stuff is hitting now. So we just gotta figure out
when to do it.
how to fund it.
Right.
What do you have in there for tennis courts, do you remember?
Has the board considered something similar to the hurricane assessment? A roof assessment, if it's that,
We have to.
urgent?
You hate to get in the habit of nickel and, assessment for this, assessment for that.
My
The
preference is,
Sala's coming up.
the changes that we're making today is like what Ken said, it's for future people to come. And where I struggle with it on a personal level is there are some people in this community that might only have 2 or 3 years left in this community. And they end up footing a bill for then people that are gonna be able to enjoy it going forward. That's just my own personal struggle with this.
No, that's
exactly, and I agree with you, I bought my.
That's the exact thing that all these
Yeah,
communities
I
have.
put my house right before Ian, I moved in after Ian, and I
And
paid
you paid the $1,000, yeah.
$1,000 bill, but I
So-
didn't get to enjoy any of the trees for the last 20 years.
Right, I mean, but to your point, is do we have some type of leveled assessment for these types of things as they come up?
Or,
That
Well,
impacts
that's what the
everybody.
reserves are supposed to do. They're
Theoretically,
supposed to spread it
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
or as I
But in my
talked,
opinion, that's why you do a straight line, because that way you pay as you go. Just my opinion.
there's many different
Appreciation.
theories on that.
yeah, so.
I know, I
But yeah,
know.
it's,
I know.
But it's definitely something to talk about.
yeah. So I guess my other question for you is this then, with where we're moving forward with LaSala, have you thought about those reserves that are out into the future and pulling those up to possibly use them as
Well, that was
okay,
Nancy's
funding?
229,000.
Oh, is that what that
I-
number was?
Yes.
I will update that,
Okay,
So,
Okay.
to see what this.
so just like the 2022 study has the roof being replaced in 2025. And then it got pushed to 2035 because somebody pushed it 10 years. So,
Well, but now we know where we're at
yeah,
today.
no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily a roof thing. It was I thought we were doing it based upon useful life, but if people could, I don't know how a roof gained 10 years and then lost 10 years, and I just want to make sure that the other things in here are, if the legitimate numbers or the legitimate timeframes, or if somebody kind of, jimmy them to fit the budget per se. I don't know.
I think you're looking at the wrong line. I don't see,
Are you looking at
okay. The flat
So,
roof,
Linda,
the flat roof was
last year
2020.
we had reserved $75,000.
2028.
capital.
I don't know.
I'm
We had a little-
2020,
you know, we
you're
were
right,
trying to figure out
2022.
rounding and stuff like that.
2028, and it was just the flat roof, not the tiles.
Is that money movable from capital then into reserves at any point in time, or does it have to be used for capital items?
Remember reserves.
You looking at line 15?
Trying to get to,
We can move it.
shrink
Okay.
it down.
All right,
Line 50.
it's not a lot, but I'm thinking.
No, I have 13 and 14.
It's always, it's
Line
categorized
13
separately.
14 is the roof tile.
One.
Right. No,
13 is a
Okay.
flat roof and 14 is roof tile.
I don't think you're looking at the right thing.
I see what he's looking at. Let's see, 2025.
Well, I've got it right
Tile.
here.
Yeah, tile roof.
It was in 20.
372,843 in
Yeah, that's right.
2025.
225.
And the flat, and the flat,
I don't know what you're looking at. I'm looking at the,
the
This is from the
2022,
2022
the
study.
2022 study.
that's what I'm looking at. I've got it right here.
I don't know. This is what was sent to
You're
me.
looking at Appendix A?
I see the same thing.
I don't know.
Oh, you just went by.
I don't know.
Yeah, line 14,
Line-
roof tile.
I'm looking at page,
Line 15 and 16.
there's no, I don't have 15, 16, I have 13 and 14. So there's,
13 and 14 are light
2024?
fixtures.
then we have different reports floating down here.
This, oh, I'm sorry, this is April of 24.
Yeah, you need to go to the
The
2021,
2022 one.
It was in
The
2021.
2022 one has it going to
That was before my
2025.
life. That was before my time.
So the 2020, yeah, so the old report hasn't happened in 2025, and then it got pushed to 2035.
Blame it on Cheryl, because she's not here.
I've got April of 20, I'm looking at an April 1st, 24.
No,
Appendix
the
A.
24 got pushed to 35.
Yeah, there were two studies previous to that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the 2022 study.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's why I'm just,
I disavow.
I'm not saying, okay, I'm not, yeah. I'm just saying, so that's
Well,
why.
I'm just looking at the last reserve study.
So, okay, so my question was not necessarily about the roof per se, it was about the methodology of how something got pushed 10 years. Was it because
A lot of
somebody?
things got pushed.
Yeah, a lot
My
of
answer would
things.
be to that. I mean, we were supposed to renovate La Sala in 2019 and that got pushed.
Yeah, but
That's why it looks like it does.
Yeah, but some things are
Well,
more.
I think you have to let it go.
Okay, no, I'm just, and it was just more of a question on how the reserve study is performed as opposed to the roof.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Any other supervisor requests or comments?
This is like a gong.
Even if I did, I wouldn't say anything.
Make the motion quick. It's for 4 hours. Yeah, to adjourn?
Alright, so we would need a motion to adjourn.
I heard Ken.
I did too.
Second. Alright, so
move we
there's a
adjourn.
motion by Ken, second by Jill. All those in favor, please state aye.
I
Alright.
Aye.
24 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of the day.
Thank you. And now that we're off the record, Ken, I agree with you. It's a separate email with the facts.